Great, and welcome to the January Committee of the Whole meeting on January 14th, 2025, and we'll begin today at 4:35. We have a very packed agenda today, as usual, so we'll get started, and I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Do the roll call.
Sorry, newbie mistake. We're going to do roll call first. Member Banks.
Here.
Member Eater. Here. Member Leffler-Kemp. Here. Member Lofwald.
Here.
I am here. Member Sadowski. Member Williams is excused. Superintendent Magus.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Present.
Deputy Clerk Zunich.
Here.
And Executive Assistant Shannon Brown.
Here.
And now I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Thank you, Chair Dirk Either, and congratulations again on your appointment. We will begin because we do have a packed agenda, and our first presenter is myself, as well as our manager for facilities, Brian Brown, and we also have a presenter. His name is Chris Hogan. He will be introduced by Mr. Brown in a moment. And this is with regards to our First Street build-out. So you'll notice that instead of saying the D&T build-out, we have now named it, moving forward, the First Street build-out for our school district. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Brown, who will give us introduction to why we're here and then walk through the current design that has been created by Mr. Hogan. So I'll turn it to Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. After meeting with all the groups that are going into the DNT or the First Street build-out, I'm still not used to that, but we send out surveys first to see exactly what they needed, and then meeting with them several times, narrowing it down, several different drawings that we came up with. Then we met as individual with myself, Chris Hogan, the architect, and Anthony, and we narrowed it down even closer to exactly what would be the best fit, the best design for security, to make sure that all the different departments have what they need. And tonight, we would like to present that to you with our final drawings that we have. So Chris, can you come on board? This.
That looks like a great building.
Lots of room. There he is. This is Chris Hogan with Miller Architects, and he's going to be walking us through this this beautiful drawing that he did for us.
Can you tell me the firm again? Where does Chris work?
He works for Miller Architects.
And Chris, as a point of information, on your end, you could probably click the center of the design and pin that design, and then that will make it much larger, because even on our end, it looks pretty tiny. Hover over the picture itself, the design picture that you have being displayed. There it is. There you go. That made it bigger right there. And then you see the magnifying glass as well. Click off of that. There you go. You know what you're doing. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. Just a broad overview for the project. It's a former Duluth Tribune building, and we're occupying the street level off of First, and then we're occupying the second floor above that with the programs. There is a lower level basement that's primarily for storage, and as well as we're going to start to use it for food service deliveries as well. But the building was comprised of 3 different zones, and approach to layout where the different programs went dealt more so with ease of access for And still again, First Street for orientation is at the front, top of the plan.
Just one quick question related to the secure entrance. You said there's a secure entrance for the high school ALC program. Is the entrance for the main first floor a secure entrance as well?
It is, we're intending to have, as you come in the front door of the building off the first, there's a vestibule existing there now. We'll utilize that as a point of access control. The ALC program doesn't enter into that vestibule, but those doors are secured so that steps can't mix with the public entrance. The ALC program for upstairs, the high school has their own dedicated door at the front that doesn't share with that existing stairs. So we're putting in a new door just to specifically provide them a secure entry point.
So do they have a swipe card to get in?
The kids will get in, but they'll be in the vestibule, and then they'll be let up into the building.
Yeah, once they come up the stairs in the building, that would be this front stair here. They're into a kind of a entry vestibule upstairs where they have a secured reception area that will allow them to buzz through, or if they have cards, but they're controlled at the top of the stairs there.
We have a question.
Before they can go any further.
We have a question from member Lafleur-Kemp and then member Banks.
Thank you so much, Chris. This is really exciting. The last time I was in it was when we were thinking about the space. So thank you. Just a quick question. Is in any of the programs, I'm thinking maybe just some of the special ed programs would be bused. Any other students that would be bused up to this building? And if so, where would the buses flow?
I think it was discussed that the front parking would be possibly just dedicated to the district for drop-off for those, that nature. There is also the parking ramp that has that access point. If they need covered access, they can come through that as well. I don't know if Brian has a better answer for that from what he knows from busing.
I know that there's been some talk about the ALC having some vans and a couple other programs having vans, and they would use that First Street parking ramp to get in there and come in that back door, and the ALC kids would then be escorted to the upstairs.
Thank you.
That is correct. And so with some of our students with special needs, there might be some students with special needs transportation that might be provided as well. So transportation has been at least thought of in terms of need for, just like you are asking or inquiring, access points for buses and vans, as well as, can you describe what we also are thinking about regarding street parking, or not parking, but the potential removal of the meters to be determined?
Yeah, we've talked to the city, and they understand that we're going to have a lot of parent drop-off and kids getting dropped off. And they said, yeah, they would work with us to eliminate the meters out on the street and make it strictly for our access. It'd be our access parking only.
Member Banks?
Thank you very much. Just a couple quick questions. Where, again, is the adult education department going to be housed? And then secondly, you mentioned security. So currently there's security as a live security person downtown in the Tech Village. Are we still going to provide that as a district, or what is that going to look like in this building?
The plan is to continue with providing security services for the new First Street building. And the first question was?
Adult education
It's on the
department?
second floor, and he was going to, Chris is about to walk through the second floor in a moment, but it is on the second floor.
Adult ed will come in on the First Street in the main vestibule and be buzzed in, and then they'll walk straight back past the enrollment And then there is a back stairway that they can either use the elevator or they can use the back stairway to get up to their secured area. They won't have no access to ALC, and ALC won't have no access to them.
Member Lafleur-Kemp?
Just a clarifying question, so that one entrance is kind of the open entrance, if you will, and then there's two closed entrances for those two other programs that you...
Correct.
Right, okay, great, thank you.
Chris, you want to continue with the second floor overview?
So head upstairs, we left off with the ALC program, and that is high school based, and it is in the blue. And entry point where we left off is the secured entry here that they're allowed through. Within there, we have the classrooms positioned around, mostly at the front. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 classrooms there with kind of a gathering space in the center for them, and also an area where they can serve meals out of. Work out with the health department and how the delivery process they require is used. But access to that area is through that front stairway. They do have emergency exits out as well as required by code, but their other access point is the elevator, which will be two-sided, controlled by door access as well. So ALC program can only come out the right-hand side of the elevator into their program, whereas adult basic ed can come out the left-hand side and enter into their space, shown in yellow. Within there, the program is closed off to others. Others can't get in as well with door access. There are some shared common bathrooms out in the open in this gray, but they're really meant for people within the public area or coming out. But ALC has their own restrooms located within their space. Their food delivery is located within the space. Other functions within, we do have located a science lab within at the back side of the building, as well as an art classroom with the kiln and art storage area. And then the vast majority of the rest is teacher offices for their functions, and also the AEO program of life.
So,
The other user on this floor is the adult basic ed, shown in yellow.
Good.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4 classrooms within, as well as a computer lab. The center two can be joined together with an operable wall to maximize the space. But like ALC, they're separate. They have door access to control people in and out of their space as well, using it, and ramps up to it from the elevator due to the elevation change in the floor.
Thank you. We have a couple questions. Superintendent Magus?
sure, thanks. And just so you know, we went through a name change, and it's now Duluth Adult Education, so we don't, it's not Adult Basic Education anymore. But then looking at the entryway, so will adult education have access to the special education area and the middle school ALC, AEO based on the current plan, back down to floor 1?
They are separated by door control, so they can't get in unless allowed. So once they enter into the common area, the part showed in white, they wouldn't be able to gain access to those other 2 users unless allowed to enter, I suppose.
What I'm saying, can you go back to the first floor on your piece?
Yep.
I'm just asking, and better to get it now. I'm sorry, I'm noting this now. But, so once an adult education student has access to the white area, then they have access to the special education, they could potentially have access to the special education area and the middle level ALC?
They can access the hallway there, but at the doorways into those zones, they're door access.
Okay, thank you. That helps. very good.
Yeah, each program was treated similar to an office suite where they're controlled. You can't
Okay.
get in
That's,
unless
that's really helpful because I was envisioning, you know, people walking through the halls and just wanted to make sure that it was a separate entry access point.
Member Larford Kemp, we have another question. Member Larford Kemp?
Just a quick question. You highlighted the elevator. Is there more than one elevator in this space?
No, there's just
There
one.
is only one elevator, and right now it's a freight elevator, oversized, and we're re-sleeving it, fancy term, but putting in a brand new passenger elevator within it. So it'll be fully ADA compliant and will serve the building out of that one location.
Yeah, I think when we toured it, we actually went on that elevator, but, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and on,
I remember
and
it.
it is a two-sided elevator, so on second floor, if there's card access by adult ed, they'll only be able to get out on the left side of the elevator. If it's card access by the ALC, they can only get out the right side, so.
Member Derek Eater?
In addition, I just want to, I'm very happy to see that we're looking at the physical hard security with doors and making sure that we have programs separate and treating them as separate entities. My assumption also is that we'll have cameras and all of the other pieces. So that's good to know that we have the door access being controlled to all of these different programs. And in addition, we do have security there. And in addition, we do have cameras to maintain the security of that building.
Yeah,
That's
we-
correct.
We have security there right now, and we have the cameras on order. We're waiting for one piece of equipment from IT, and once that's installed, then we'll have live cameras there so we can monitor it during the construction and keep, make sure. But we have it figured for quite a few cameras throughout the building. Yep.
Member Larford, not Member Larford Kemp, Member
Just
Lowell.
just a logistics thing. So if there's only one elevator, how do you get all the desks and all the materials and all that different stuff that goes into this building up to where it belongs?
There's an elevator. We don't have to carry it up the steps. We will get it all in there.
Giant
We,
ramp.
we got, I mean, all the office stuff that, they left everything, that DNT did. So we had to bring all their desks, all their chairs, all their furniture, everything came down in that elevator also. So, yeah, it's a big elevator.
You said you right-sized it. It was a freight elevator, but now it's.
It's good, it's a freight elevator, but it'll be about the same size as your elevator, maybe a little bit bigger than the one that's in here. Stack it up and take it up there.
Member Sadowski?
This has been really great to see because it's been a long time since we walked through the First Street building. And I do remember seeing the parking lot. What is the capacity of the parking lot? I'm just looking at all the offices here and thinking about our educators and that will need to be parking.
I think total parking spaces is 38. We have, Chris, is it 16 on the First Avenue?
I believe that's right, 16, and then the ones below.
I think there's another 28 or 30 down there. It's a big parking lot underground. And we own all that, and part of the deal was when they built the original build-out on the DNT and they built that new parking ramp for Maurice's, the city and the county gave us that, or gave them, for whoever owns a building, lifetime, no taxation on it. So you have about a $2 million parking lot there.
Thank you.
Member Larford Kemp?
Just to follow up, I seem to recall when we did tour the building again, that we did go to that parking lot and that if we needed extra lots, I have a good memory. Yeah, that if we needed more, there was that potential with that
Yep,
parking lot.
Maurice's,
right?
correct.
Maurice's, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Superintendent Magus, and then Member Mike Sill.
Sure. And discussions about tours, I think, given that we have 3 new board members, I think it would be excellent, especially since it's been a couple of years for the returning board members, but considering we have 3 new board members, I'd like to work with you, Brian, to put together some opportunities for people to come back and look. You know, being there with the map would be interesting too, because I think we could envision
And I can
more.
have a full-size set of blueprints there.
That'd be awesome.
And it looks, for everybody that was there before, it does not look like that anymore. It's so big in there because we took all the walls down there. I mean, it's just a nice, big, open spot that we can reconstruct. So it's really, it's big. It's really big inside.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the work that you and the team have done on the planning, but also the demo and everything else
Oh,
that
yeah,
that
no
we've done.
problem.
It's a great opportunity for the district and the community.
Member Meixel?
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation thus far, and all the hard work that's gone into this and the stakeholders that have been engaged with. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the middle school ALC program, and the amount of space that they have dedicated to them compared to the upper grades. Wanting to know more about their bathroom access and relaxation areas.
Chris, you want to go back down to the first floor?
And
When ALC came to us, they told us that they're adding a middle school ALC. And they told us exactly what they needed. They needed 2 classrooms, smaller classrooms, because there's not that many kids. They need to have their own place that they can eat in. They need a couple offices, a meeting room, and their own restroom. And that those kids would not have access to the rest of the building. And so that's what we provided for them. It was the best fit in that area, and that way it also keeps the middle school ALC away from the senior, or the upper class ALC program.
And will middle school students have access to the science lab or the kiln or the art room? I mean, it seems like a
They
small
will
amount of
have
space.
access, but like I said, when they're brought into the building, they're escorted, and they'll be able to be escorted up. There is a back steps that can take them right up there, and they can get access into the art room and the science lab, absolutely.
Great. Is there any information on how big our middle school program is?
yes, as in the audience, we have all of our program leaders, and they'll be able to answer questions later if folks would like specific questions from our program leaders, so they're all here. If my memory serves me, I think we built it for, Chris, is it 12 to 15 students or somewhere around there? Correct?
That is correct. I think they have 9 to 10 in each classroom, 8 to 10 in each classroom,
Yep.
somewhere in that range.
And it's a new program that we are implementing in the district because we currently do not have a middle school seat-based ALC. So this is something that's new, that's being implemented
And
moving
it's
forward.
implemented for the fall?
No, when this,
When the building
when the building opens, correct. Okay, was there something else related to what Chris needed to go back to? All right, Chris, it looks like we're good to go. Can you go ahead and go back to the second floor design and walk us through the class spaces that exist there? You started with, I heard you say art room, science room, and then you were discussing and describing other spaces. Thank you.
Sure. And reference to the last question, this in the back here is the science and art room. So there's a couple options for those students that come up. There is that central stair adjacent to their middle school program adjacent to it. There's also the stair that's shared here as well that they can come out of to access it as well. And that's right in the back of the building. The balance of the space, that was the teacher offices for the AEO program. And after that, I think it was all just positioned with what made sense best with the floor changes in the building and the existing masonry bearing walls kind of dictated where we could put things and what made sense programmatically as well on this floor. The one thing we didn't cover is food delivery. We did touch base with the local office there and discuss how that would be best served for the programs to maintain safety and all those things with food delivery. And what we came to was food delivery. I'll try not to make you too dizzy here, but we'll go down to the basement here. So basement, pretty much up to this point, is staying as is, possibly just district storage. We will build in a small portion of it out the back here for exiting. But down in the basement, we'll also put in a section here for the food delivery service. It'll enter in off of First Street, down the elevator, and into these two rooms just for receiving, where they can get organized and send it to the correct department. The health department also requested an area within that you can possibly wash dishes if needed. So we have that located as well as a shared service. But after that, they'll get delivered up to the different departments. So we've located on each program, say for instance here in STEPS, we've located a serving area for those folks, as well as here in the ALC program on middle school, they'll receive it within this tiled area, as well as the early childhood will too, as well as the two users on the second, the ALC program on second will also receive it here too, next to their gathering space. And that was suggested by the health department. I think that was kind of the last piece to the design that came in at the end, just to try and make the delivery of those items meet their codes as well. Is there any questions of how that works?
Will you be going over some of the adult ed as well as central enrollment?
Central, and we did change this core. Is that what you mean, Anthony?
Yes, because that was previously in the previous drawing, that was meant to be a significant space for community ed. And we have modified that to support centralized enrollment, which will be explained a little later in the second presentation by Simone Zunich. And then, but community ed still has space there. So it's just been a smaller space for community ed, but they're in their central enrollment. So if you can just quickly just show where central enrollment is located.
Sure. So off that central lobby area, this will be accessed by the public, open to them. They'll have kiosks and things in that nature. There will be a reception area here that's open to that lobby space. Behind that, as indicated, there is a central enrollment area here now. So up to this wall here, we have 1, 2, 3 offices, as well as a small work area for that program located adjacent to that lobby to help access off that main hallway. Just below that and flat south, there still is a smaller presence of the community ed program there as well, housing 2 offices and an additional small work area for those folks as well. Where's that part?
Right in pink and right there next to the green. If my colors are off, it's because I'm getting a little older. So from here, it looks kind of pink.
Running out of colors, but it's kind of a light
Purple, yeah.
That's central enrollment and community ed is the last,
It's both in the center, but they'll have separate entrances.
Right.
So there'll be 3 offices and a work area for central enrollment. And then right behind their offices, you'll see those 2 offices in the back there. That will be for community education.
Superintendent Magus, then Member Lafleur-Camp.
Sure. Our community education program currently uses spaces within our own school building. So thinking about the other classrooms with adult education or other spaces that are there, special ed, ALC, AEO, and other spaces, is it possible that some of those spaces might be utilized if there are downtown offerings through community ed that we wanted to use?
That is the plan. The plan is to use those spaces to enhance our community ed programming right downtown when obviously programming is not occurring in the site during the day. But at night, definitely available on Fridays and other spaces could be potential as well. So that was the plan, is to make sure that we could provide enhanced community ed opportunities.
That's great, and thinking about possible community partnerships with other organizations and things like that, I think that there could be great opportunity there.
Yes. Member Larfla Kemp?
Yeah, that is exciting, to have another place to do community ed. But the offices will still, of community ed, will still be maintained at the sites where we offer community ed at the schools, right? Okay. Okay, that wasn't my question, but I follow up on that. What is, where the community ed offices are, what's that isolated pink office that I can't read? Yeah, right there, yeah.
It's the audiologist's office.
For
There was a request
testing.
to provide a presence for that to be on site.
Okay.
And Mr. Crane can share where that testing is currently occurring. Not Arvik, but what's the name of the site?
Oh, brilliant,
Right.
yeah.
UDEC, that's the word I was looking for, UDEC building. Thank you. And the last space I think I wanted you to just cover a little bit more is adult ed, and then we'll take questions.
Adult ed is on second, showing yellow here. Entry point, main entry point would be up the ramp, so we have a central corridor, central stairway, kind of just almost center in this building. Enter in, and they'll also have their own door access control, but they'll have their reception and control desk just directly adjacent to that, with the backup behind it being their offices to serve that, file storage, break room, and work area in the back. They do have a smaller conference room they're going to use as testing or registration primarily. Study area for the students in the corner behind that. After that, it's more of the functions of the space. So we do have the testing rooms, 4 of those that'll be sound isolated for testing, but located adjacent to the control desk so that they can monitor the testing. We do have a computer lab that's open to the space as well, kind of a flex space, has smaller use there. And then the balance of the space after that are the classrooms, and we have 4 shown. These central 2 are joined together with a folding operable wall. It's acoustically sealed, so it'll operate as 2 classrooms when closed, but open they will be able to have 1 larger classroom for flexibility of program. But each classroom is roughly the same size through there, with the largest being in the corner at 736 square feet. They do have an access point for emergency fire access out the back, shared with ALC, but only would be allowed for that in the event of an emergency. All other traffic goes out their main door in the front of their space down the central stair, or by virtue of the elevator, which would have a door access to.
Thank you. We have a question, a couple of questions here. Member Larfla Kemp and then Member Banks.
Sorry, I'm asking so many questions, but, so where,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
okay, did you want me to go first? Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So where would the public who are coming to the adult basic ed come, I'm not understanding where they would access the,
Can you go again, Chris, to the first floor, the First Street entrance, and the separation that is there for the different programming? And again, just emphasizing again,
Okay.
the separation that exists for our adults and our students and even our littles.
Okay. Let's see, they would have public access access off the center, the white area, if you will, off the front, off of First through the vestibule here. Come down the main hallway in the center, and then enter into the open stairs in the back here. That would lead them upwards to their space, up and through the door here into their space. So that would be considered their primary entry point there.
Elevator would be.
Secondary, they have two other options. If they need the elevator, that would also be access. They can come in the front of the building, or they can also come in the rear of the building through that parking ramp access. Come through the corridor to the elevator, bringing them up into that shared common area at the head of it, but only allowed to access the left-hand side and not into the ALC program. And then up the ramp, the existing ramp up to their space as well.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Member Banks, then Member Lowfold.
Sure. Do we have an opportunity to ask questions of the department heads?
Yes, I would ask if we could, the answer is yes, of course. And I want to make sure, are there any questions related to the design? Then we can take questions, and if you want to ask a department leader to provide some additional insight. Yes, okay, absolutely.
I can wait.
Okay, Chair Lowfold?
So I don't know if mine are questions
Member Lowfold.
for our design, but what's the square footage of this whole complex? Or give me first floor and then second floor, square footage. Do we know?
Sure. First floor, they're infilling, but at the end of it all, they're about 20,000 square feet per floor, roughly.
Okay.
So first floor is 20, second floor is 20, and the basement is roughly that as well.
Okay. And then, is there a capacity limit when you have, are you working like with fire safety, kind of, fire safety, is there a capacity limit for this? I know it's really great to see all the different layouts, but how many people are going to be in this site on average?
An average, it is, yes, answer to your first question, it's all based back to the building code and what's allowed by the building and fire code for the building. So it is an existing building and you're allowed some things to be applied differently, but for egress, for safety, it's always back to the building code and its stringent policies. So we're maintaining that throughout the building for student and everybody's safety. As far as quantities, I'd have to look it up to understand how many people in total would be in this building at the end of it all, if under full use. I could share that, but
Okay.
not sure of how much that would be just off the top of my head, I
Yeah,
guess.
if that's something that we could provide at any
Yeah,
given
you could,
point, we
yeah.
can clearly do that. And as you know, the different programs have different times of operation, right? Adult ed, for example, has students have classes at different points and times of the day, not off, but no classes offered on Friday. ALC-AO does the same in terms of no classes offered on Friday, and students come at different periods of time throughout the day, depending on their schedule. So not all students are in the building at the same time, except on celebrations and events that require them to do so. ECFE, all those classes, all these different programs, they would be able to share that, but they offer different programming and opportunities. So it's probably going to be really hard to say if on the unique day that every program is being offered at the same time, what the number of participants would be.
And then many using this space are really program leads, and they will be working, probably a regular workday as they lead whatever programs, whether that's community ed or whether that's, our core streamlined enrollment center would be a number of adults working in that area for the Monday through Friday business hours type of thing?
That's correct. And community ed mostly in the evening. So
So
it just varies.
yeah.
And so
I have questions like with fire drills and how you manage when there's so many different programmings, if that, I mean, you guys will figure that out, I know you will. And will there be like an administrator in charge of this whole building with so many programs in there, with so many administrative heads?
Right.
Is there someone there that has kind of the whole building?
To be determined, because we
Okay,
do have various program leaders in the building who oversee their program. And so those are things that we are evaluating to determine what is needed, if there is a one person needed to oversee the program. Those are things that are under consideration. But again, because the programs have department leaders already, and they run and support their own programming now. And as you have seen, most often they're isolated in terms of how the programs run and operate. But there will definitely be some coordination needed and some additional conversations around safety drills. And those are things that we do all the time and have to do similar to what we've done here in this new building here and the new spaces around us. You know, once we open, we start thinking about all of the things that we need to put in place to keep things secure and safe and all of the required things by statute. So those are all the things we're going to work through over the next year and a half here. I say year and a half, I'm hoping it's going to be shorter than that, but I don't know who's next again.
I just want to in the interest, because we have a very full agenda tonight, so we'll finish these additional questions, and then if we have additional questions, I'm sure that Assistant Superintendent Bonds will make sure to get us our answers.
Absolutely. I'll just go with Member Mike, because I figured who was next. I'll go Member Mike so far next.
Two quick questions. So first, can someone explain the access of the elevator? If our Duluth adult learners are coming in the front or the back door, how do we ensure that they are accessing only the correct side of the elevator when they exit off on the second floor?
If they need elevator access, they will have a swipe card. And that swipe card to run the elevator, just like I'll have to use my swipe card to go, if I want to use it to go up in the elevator, I'll have to use it. Mine will let me go out either side. Adult ed will only let them go out the left side. ALC will only let them go out the right side.
And then will that be provided to them when they enter the building, or will they get access to that, like, as they become a student?
They will
can
get
use
that
anytime?
from their program directors.
Okay.
The ALC kids will be escorted from the front vestibule where they come in to the elevator to make sure that they get taken up and go to the right side.
And we have staff available to do that then, as needed? Okay. And then second, and this can be something that can be sent to us later, but I was just hoping, I'm sure a lot of work has gone into making this a great educational space, and so thinking about lighting and all of those other, components that aren't just desks and chairs and places for teachers to sit, what work has gone into making sure that these are.
Oh,
good spaces
this
for
will be
kids?
just like a regular school. We're gonna, matter of fact, this building will have all LED lighting right away. So we'll be providing LED lighting. It'll be a beautiful space because it's not gonna be a dark dungeon like it seemed to be it'll be a very brightly lit area. Different paint schemes and different, for different areas. Furniture, I mean, it's not gonna be, there was a comment one time made that, well, we're just going to be put in a dungeon. It's not gonna be a dungeon. It's gonna be a beautiful building. I imagine back in the day when the DNT was going full staff and it was a great building. It was a nice office building. And this will be a great educational building. I mean, it'll be a showcase for the district.
And I appreciate the question because I too have, as we kept moving through it, I asked the very same thing. I want to make sure that we have proper signage for our ALC, AEO center. We want to make sure that there's signage and so forth throughout the building, that it's well lit and that it's, in terms of the paint we select, that it's, friendly and especially for our students, and make sure it is a great learning environment because that's important to us. I mean, I'm really excited about the project because it will be, these will be our students, right? So I'm really excited about the fact to be our students, our staff, and so I'm excited about the spaces. I think our students will be excited about their new spaces as well. I think we said one more question, and then, Chair, what would you like me to do then?
Oh, I can, mine's a staffing kind of question, so I can wait with that.
Sorry.
Superintendent Magus?
Sure. To the points made earlier, in many ways, as Chris said and as Brian has said, we were starting with kind of a clean slate. It was emptied, it's refurbished and not even refurbished, rebuilt, redesigned. And the space, the square footage that we have for all of our programming is larger than current square footage and designed specifically for the requested use as opposed to like at ALC or at adult education, for instance. There's kind of a use of the spaces as they can be, and there's dividing walls used as main walls to separate classroom areas and things like that. But that's completely redesigned with walls and spatial forward thinking to ensure that it's a respectful, thoughtful, well-planned execution of the building. So we're very proud of the work that's been done.
It's been all engineered for the best use of the square footage that we can do. We also have included, we have the really nice bathrooms. We have gender-neutral bathrooms going in there. So we've really gone through everything to make sure that it's all inclusive of that just like every other school. Like I said, we want the kids to want to come to school there, and we want the staff to want to work there. So I think it's, like I said, I think it's going to be a show place for you guys.
Chris and Brian, before we switch to a couple of questions that you may have of a specific program leader. So members, if you are thinking of a specific program, let me know, and we can then call that program leader. Can you just quickly share the timeline for, given that we are quickly moving forward with the design we have here, the anticipated timeline for build out and move in?
Chris, you're probably best to answer that question for when the drawings, the blueprints will be ready to go, hit the street, and bid packages. I think we're looking at doing bid packages probably in the middle of summer, so we can start it right away in the fall and work all winter and be ready in the spring.
Ready spring
For the fall, or for the following fall.
And so what is our anticipated move-in date if everything goes well?
Fall of '27.
Okay.
And we do have leases that we have in place with adult ed. Or is it? 26, I'm sorry, fall of 26, yeah. Fall. Yeah. I want one extra, yeah, I gave everybody a heart attack. No, fall of 26, yes. And we have leases in place that we have to be in, that we're stuck in until that time, so I'm sorry.
Thank you. So, members of the board, I mean, Member Banks, you had a question for a program leader. Which program leader should I bring up?
If the executive from the adult education could come up?
Yes.
Have a quick question or two for her.
Coordinator Frank is headed to the
Excuse
table.
me.
Can you just introduce yourself, and then Member Banks has a question.
Is this thing on?
It is.
All right. Angie Frank from Duluth Adult Education. Happy to answer your questions.
So I have on numerous occasions visited the current site, and in looking at this space here, is this adequate for what you're intending to do? Because I know your numbers are increasing, and I just need to hear from you.
I'm thrilled with the space. So to try to keep the answer brief, right now we've got 4 programs in our space sharing 2 classrooms. So you see those 4 main classrooms. Each program will have its own classroom. The programs have very different students, very different student needs, and so it's a fantastic space for us. We've got a growing volunteer program. It gives us space for volunteers to work individually, most likely with English language students. That's what's really booming, but gives us the opportunity to grow that program to work with our GED and diploma students. Yeah, it's a really well-designed space, and I'm really excited about it.
All right, thank you. I just need to hear that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Member Sadowski?
I was glad to see the private testing areas, and you think that'll be adequate as well and helpful?
Yeah, so when we moved out of Hawks, we had an official GED testing center. That was closed down when we moved to the Arvig building. That was before my time, but my understanding was that to have a specific server for that program was too expensive. So our workaround for that has been, well, the closest official testing center is 2 hours away. There's one up in Grand Marais and one in the Twin Cities, south of the Twin Cities, north of the Twin Cities. And so our workaround for that, GED now offers at-home testing. And so we have in our current space 2 dedicated testing rooms where students can sign up for an at-home test. They can check out one of our testing rooms and then complete the test there, knowing they have the right technology equipment, a quiet space, a consistent internet connection. And yes, at this juncture, the 2 rooms we have are often full. We also do testing for Career Force and SOAR and some other programs we have partnerships for. And they're required to do testing from grants they get from DEED. And so those 2 rooms are often bursting and bustling, and I think these 4 rooms will be adequate.
Thank you. So again, thank you, Coordinator Frank. So again, members of the board, if you have additional questions related to the build-out, you can send me an email, or if it's specific to something related to the build-out, you can send it to Brian and myself and Executive Director Severance as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonds, Assistant Superintendent Bonds. I know that there were so many needs, and thank you, Mr. Brown, for all the work that you've done too. That there are many, many different needs, many different interests, and weaving this into one cohesive building that meets those needs has been a very creative and very thoughtful task, and we appreciate all the work that's been done.
And I would be remiss, I know program leaders, I asked our program leaders to join us just in case they had, in case there were questions, and I appreciate you attending and, this evening, and we will follow up if needed, so thank you. Our next presentation will be given by Simone, Executive Director Zunich. She will provide a budget reduction and realignment update. Chris, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Yes, you're welcome, thank you.
And our Executive Director, Severance, is also joining us as well. I'll turn it over to them. One second. Mr. Graves, do I just need to, okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are we ready to go with, we are ready to go. We are ready. Executive, I'll turn over to our executive directors.
Good evening. What you have in your packet related to budget reduction displacement is the displacement timeline that we have worked through with staff as well as the Labor Management Committee for the teachers. And right now, we're down to that highlighted area that tomorrow, the final documents and decisions will be due to the HR team so that we can spend next week going through and making sure that we are looking at the right positions, the people that would be in there based on seniority and the different contracts and how those work related to the other layoffs, displacements around the whole district. So this is just kind of a general guide, but we'll be making those final determinations of who will be displaced next week. And then the following week, the communications will go out individually by the building leaders or department leaders to those individuals that will be affected, followed up by a formal letter on the 31st of January. And this will be effective for 7/1. So they will have many months' notice to the impact. And things could change depending on what happens along the way. If we have other people that leave for other reasons, there could be changes to that. But that will be the initial process with the displacement.
Member Loeffel?
Just a quick question, when you look at that deadline or that timeline of January 27th to the 30th, when principals and supervisors communicate to displaced individuals, will they give you some kind of feedback that they have done that before the 31st, where that letters are sent? You know, just a double check. We certainly know that things are busy, and that's 3 days, and maybe that's the person they need to contact maybe they have been ill, or they were on they're a coach and they're with their program, I don't know. But is there going to be some kind of a double check, like, have you contacted?
Yeah, so on the 27th, we'll send them the list of their affected staff, and then we will ask them to loop back to us once they've completed that list. And we won't move forward until we hear back from them.
Superintendent Magus?
Sure. Thank you for putting this together. We worked together on this, and I appreciate the human resource insight that you had, as well as the budgetary insight. I would also say thanks to our many labor partners, particularly the Duluth Federation of Teachers. We worked through the assignment and transfer quality leadership team, because I think in a time when you're maybe looking at displacement, maybe looking at potential layoff, we want to make sure that there's a crystal clear shared understanding of how things will work, and so that there's language that's the same, and also that as people are hearing this message, that they're not hearing two different things. We want to make sure that at one school you're not hearing, hey, you're probably lost your job no matter what, you better find a job elsewhere, and another place, so something will work out for you, no problem, don't sweat it. We want to make sure that everything is crystal clear, lockstep, and the DFT and Ethan and others have been really solid partners in that work.
Seeing no additional, Member Loeffler-Kemp?
Yeah, and I guess, wanted to remind the board to, Member Lofold and myself are the QSC representatives for the labor management process this year, and so we did have a meeting last week, and understand the review process that has happened through that table, so.
Member Loeffel?
I just want to remind us to have a lot of grace and understanding during this process, having been a teacher, and in my all teachers, Member Eater, Chair Eater can, this happens in lots of districts, and it happened a lot when I first got into the field. I think for the first, 7 to 8 years, I was given, many times the message that I was going to be reduced or let go because of budget cuts and where I was on the list. And no matter how many times, maybe there were meetings after school, I didn't seem to get to them, or I didn't follow up, or whatever that is. So there are times when the principals and the supervisors will do everything right, and there still will be staff that just didn't quite feel it was going to be them or something. I don't know. I want to give a lot of grace and space, because I was there once and twice and many times, and I don't think I always quite understood all of the assignment and transfer. And I do know how difficult contracts and assignment and transfers are, and how many dominoes might fall. And again, I was always fortunate to get my job back, because there was a last minute, the family, that teacher moved because somebody else got a new job, and they lose. So the job always seemed to come back, but oftentimes you have to make a decision in July to take a new position, and then you find out in August that your former position could have been there still, but you had to make the decision for the best of your financial future. So I'm with you.
One thing I also wanted to point out that isn't on this timeline is that Ethan Fisher and myself as well as some staff from my team will be having some open house for any employee of that group that gets displaced, so that if there are questions, because a lot of them may be newer teachers. So we want to make sure that we have the opportunity for them to ask questions, not only to the union, but to human resources. Our benefits staff will be there as well, and what does that look like if they aren't able to secure a job before the end of the school year. So we will be offering, I believe, a couple dates in the evenings that they can stop over to the Federation offices there so that we can answer questions for them.
And that's not something that is new, because you also offered that same opportunity last year as well, right?
Yes.
Superintendent Magus?
Along those same lines, we'll offer also potentially like a frequently asked questions and a document that would share this in case people aren't able to make that meeting. And we've even talked about maybe putting together a video too. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody's worried about, you know, what's happening or what did they actually hear or not hear during the meeting, they could replay that video or look at those documents as we produce those.
Thank you. Anything else? Our next presentation is regarding centralized enrollment, something you heard about in terms of the build-out process for the First Street building. And Executive Director Zunich will introduce her team and what that will look like, because it's something that's going to be implemented a little sooner than the build-out. So I'll turn it over to the team.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. We're really excited about this. This is the new enrollment team, although they've been working in their roles for a long time. I will let everyone introduce themselves, but, you know, we have Phil, Teresa, and Danielle. They're all very good in their specific areas. They've been helping each other. They've created this little PowerPoint, and we'll go over that. But first, I'll let everyone introduce themselves and what you do here and what your title is.
I'm Danielle Dorn. I am system administrator mostly for Infinite Campus amongst a few other systems.
Teresa?
I'm Teresa Peterson. I'm enrollment and training for the district.
And I'm Phil Paulson. I'm the EdFi analyst, Mars coordinator for the district.
So we have some good people at the table here. So, thank you, Shannon, you're casting this for us. So let's go on down. We will start with why centralized enrollment. So if you want to keep, I think it's the next one more. There we go. So this has been something the team has been thinking about for a while. I will say the assistant superintendent has been very supportive of this. You know, over a year ago, it's been something we've been talking about. We're finally there. We're looking, I'll start with, to really start this on February 1st. And we will, of this year, yes. And as you can see with the First Street build-out, that will be moving down there in about a year or so. But we're looking to start this, and it really came to be that, you know, our site clericals really have a lot on their desks. I'm happy to say we have Dorothea Hansen here. She's here to support the new program, the new enrollment center, and we really appreciate your support with that. And so why are we doing this? This will be definitely a benefit for our families. This will simplify the process. There will only be one point of contact. It will increase our equity, improve our communication with our families, and reduce the lead time to enrollment. And I will read with the benefits for the district: accurate data management. We will have decreased data errors on our Mars and EdFi reporting. It stops accidental ending of enrollments that cause data loss, increased family satisfaction, increased revenue potential with ADM, which is our average daily membership, and a reduction in cost by moving to digital files. So paper, file folders, printing, physical storage, and staff allocation. This team, along with our transportation manager, drove down to visit 2 schools that are our size or not, a little bit bigger. Can you tell me who they were?
Lakeville and Bloomington.
So Lakeville and Bloomington, they met with them and went to their enrollment center. They got copies of their applications. They spent the whole day with those two sites and asked good questions and came back very excited. So I'm like, okay, we got to get this going here. So they did their homework. And as you know, transportation, we went to a new software a year and a half ago. So we've been working through that. We still meet every other week. The whole team does, about 12 of us. These 3 are on that team as well, because the enrollment coincides with transportation. There is a tab there that has, so that all, works with each other. So what they did for us, you can go one more. So these are our current enrollment challenges. I don't think I need to go through each one, but as you can see, there is a process here. A family wants to enroll and they have to fill out an online registration form, which is the OLR, or the family goes right to the school site. With the way we're going to digitize everything now, we have improved the application process. Danielle and the team have been working very hard along with Adele to make our website more user-friendly. And I'll let them kind of talk about that. They're each going to be able to answer questions for you and kind of go over that. So when a family moves to our district, they should be able to go on our website. We're actually working on the map because the map is not very good right now. But we're going to improve that, where they type in their address and see what school they should be going to. Right now, there's still it leads you to not the most accurate site right now. So anyway, they'll be able to fill out a form, and that process then will go, there'll be a new email address, a new phone number just dedicated for the department. These 3 will, pull up the application and start the process. And everything, they verify addresses, birth certificate and whatnot, and that all will be digitized. Okay? So if you would go to the next slide. So this will be the new flow chart. The family wants to enroll. They will fill out an online registration form, and the family can also contact the enrollment center. Here is how they have, mapped it out. There are different scenarios. The team is very willing. Teresa is wonderful about this. She will go out to a site and meet a family. They can make an appointment with us. And Teresa, Phil will go out there and actually meet with the family. So we will accommodate them no matter what their scenario is. Okay, and if they still want to do paper, they can. We're trying to get away from that, but we understand that some people have different restrictions. So if it's a paper application and they can only go to the site, our team will go out there and meet them and make that happen for them. Okay? Sure. Please.
How will we how will we know that they need us to go to the site? I mean, I hope that somehow you communicate on our flow chart, that that's acceptable and valued, and because they'll shut the door right away and not pursue enrollment if it looks like this district doesn't even want us to, I don't want to fill out a form. I mean, in actuality, this begs the question about even if they're not computer connected, how do they even, I know that people just walk to the school that's closest to where they live because they don't even go to online to see what enrollment even looks like. So, yeah, okay. So we hope that they'll just continue if they need to walk to those schools and you'll meet us there.
Yeah, they certainly will. If they come to the school, the site clerical will, contact the enrollment team, and we will get on the phone with them, and we will do what needs to happen. Teresa or Phil, do you have anything you want? You may want to pull the mic closer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think having that stuff out at the school sites, and still they can call up to the enrollment office and one of us will answer and help them through that OLR, that we have a kiosk mode on our end. And that way, when we go through the OLR, it notifies other departments too. So then that's why we'd want to get away from paper. But But yeah, I think still having that paper application at the sites for those families that may need that.
Member Lawford Kemp?
Yeah, it makes me think, I was thinking about this last night when we were talking about a school, that there are some schools that we know at the beginning of the school year, first day, we have people enrolling. And so we'll be prepared for those scenarios at schools where we traditionally have enrollment happening. Okay,
Yeah, we still be prepared for those scenarios, yep.
yeah, thank you.
Member Sadowski? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming that it'll be like cell phone capable, because a lot of people may not have a laptop, but you know how when a site isn't cell phone capable and then you're scrolling around a lot, so will it be cell phone capable? So when someone's doing this on their phone, which is sometimes the most common electronic device.
So unfortunately, we have our online application and it's through Infinite Campus. It's not very user-friendly on a mobile device. That's just the way that they have programmed it. But we are willing to sit and take all the information over the phone, go, do the paper application with them. But yes, it's not very phone-friendly. And there's a lot of information that you have to fill out too. So we just really recommend a computer, and we will have kiosks available.
Yeah, that was my second follow-up question, just for people that are maybe new to navigating educational systems, new to our educational system, our school district, or maybe first child going to school. Will there be like a checklist so that before they launch into completing this online form, they kind of know, here's what I need, X, Y, and Z? So they're not halfway through it and then lose all that work that they did because they didn't have a certain piece of information.
Absolutely. So I was working with Adele just today. We have the new web pages that we're going to put out, and it's like a step-by-step, exactly what you need before you really are enrolling. If you have questions, contact this person. And then we have new kindergarten pages as well, just stepping you through the whole process of here's all the documents that you need. Here's information about Key Zone. Here's transportation information. So we're really stepping through each step of the process before they get to the online registration.
Sounds good. I think from an equity standpoint, just having helped a lot of different folks try to get enrolled, I think that this will be a positive step instead of having to get all the different copies. Most people know how to navigate online. I do think it would be great if somehow, someday, we make it cell phone, just because that is that one that most people have. But thank you for your work on this. It's very exciting, and curious to hear more, too, down the line, just how that looks like, you going to the sites to help folks register and different things.
Superintendent Magus?
Sure. I just want to say that I think that all of you work in positions that are not always, you're in some ways the unsung heroes of things that happen behind the scenes, Mars and Infinite Campus and everything else that sometimes we just expect to work and we rely on it. And I want to say thank you for that. But I would also say that in some ways you're becoming sort of the department of first impressions. And thinking about how can we make sure that the first interface that any family has with our district is a positive, supported experience. I just want to say how much I admire the training and forethought that you're putting into it.
Thank you. I know, Teresa has really gone out of her way for many families, so we thank you for that. And, Phil goes and Danielle is there to back everyone up too. She's got that Infinite Campus side to her. So this is really an amazing team. And they're being very quiet tonight, but they're very vocal during the day. I'm like, why are you so quiet? Because I hear about everything. So, so I think that's funny. And yeah. Even Anthony's going, what's going on here, Teresa?
And as you see in the flow chart, we are have really thought about our students who are unhoused or families who are unhoused and how that works. You'll see on the chart that we are thinking about open enrollment, what that looks like for where that comes into play, our open enrollment, our inter-district transfers. So those things have been identified and thought of. Member Loeffler Kemp.
All right, just a couple other things. Thank you, too. This is so exciting. I met someone this summer who started Infinite Campus, by the way. I was very proud to say we use that. But don't we already have like a dedicated, at least I know at some of the elementary schools, a computer that families can access, or do we have that?
I think maybe at some of the sites they might have one, but our clericals are very busy and they don't necessarily have time to step away and help people, But I don't think that every school has a defined kiosk for that.
That's correct. It's not a standardized practice if it's happening. I think, like, we're shaking heads like, yeah, we know it happens in maybe 1 or 2 schools, but it's not a standardized practice.
This might be an opportunity, with this, to make sure every elementary school does have that, and parents know it, and for this reason. But thank you so much. This is really exciting, and thank you for taking the time to go check out Lakeville and Bloomington.
Member Mikesell, and then Member Sadowski.
Yeah, I just appreciate the focus on improving our systems, not only for our students and families, but also for our staff. Hearing, was it last year when our clericals came and spoke about some of their responsibilities and how many responsibilities they had, lightening their load a bit so they can focus on the day-to-day activities within the school and with students and families and our staff there. So thank you so much.
I was just going to piggyback off of Member Loeffler Camp. When we have the centralized enrollment at the First Street building, do you think there will be a computer there to?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's on there. Our intent is to have 2 kiosks there,
Okay,
and there'll also be
wonderful.
a room where families can meet with the enrollment team.
Perfect.
And they will also have offices too. So,
Thank
yes.
you.
In the design, there's some little, you'll see the little kiosks as you enter the First Street entrance. There's some kiosks that are already being set up, and then like Executive Director Zuniga stated, there will be rooms also if parents need to go and have a quiet conversation, and there's access to another conference room as well. So we've been thinking about how do we make sure that's a really good space to welcome our families and have a smooth transition to enrolling our kids.
Yeah, it'll be great because it's on the bus line too. So.
Member Loeffler, I keep saying Loeffler Camp. Member Loeffler.
So wouldn't this alleviate too the struggle we have if we have been, so enrollment has pretty much been at every site. So if I'm a clerical at Denfeld or in the counseling office, which is I think where our enrollment is there, then even if you went online, it would go to Denfeld. And at some point, you'd have to go in person and do all kinds of stuff and get all the information. Right? Is
Yeah,
that how?
right now it's kind of broken up where we get some of the data here online and then we send it out to Denfeld, and families still have to go to Denfeld, but this will hopefully bring it to one contact point.
And won't this open up if we are doing this centralized, that there is somebody manning enrollment 12 months a year? Because aren't we then currently, in some of our buildings, enrollment kind of comes to a stop? In the month of July, I would think, is when most clericals would be off because they don't work a full year.
It is 12 months now. Teresa's original role was to work throughout the summer and to make sure that at least once or twice a week, we were getting any new enrollment applications from the site. They were mailed to us. So that will happen now all summer, to make sure there's just a constant flow, and that will help with transportation with the beginning of the school year as well.
And that's a process improvement that occurred last year with having Teresa doing that summer work of dealing with those enrollments that are sometimes sitting in our elementary schools because our clericals are not there. And so we made sure that we made that a new work, and now we're taking another step or two to centralize it even further as another process improvement. So you're correct. They used to be there, sitting in some of those elementary school offices, and they didn't get addressed until our clericals came back, but now we've started to expedite these processes.
God, I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. I have yeah, an easier enrollment process. So here's the positive side of all this. It's going to be easier for our families. We're going to support, there's going to be support for families who need additional resources, accurate data management for the district. We're going to digitize our files. We're going to increase our revenue potential, reduce our costs, and quick and accurate transportation requests. So yes, as Assistant Superintendent Bond says, we are improving our system. So as with anything, there will be some bumps in the road. We're going to work through issues as we get there. Right now, we're not looking to have families sent up here, so we will do as much as possible via email, do electronic files from the site. We'll encourage our families to go out to the sites. That is something we talked about. So, we're going to get good communication. We're improving our online responses and our reporting and our forms. And so I'm glad we'll have at least, 6 months to get all of this done really for back to school, so.
Member Loeffler Kemp.
Sorry, I just thought of a question, thinking of myself 31 years ago, running up the steps of the old Hawks when we were house hunting and not living here and not even knowing where we were going to live. And so, and getting a packet that from the office, the superintendent's office. I don't even know if I was supposed to be there, but I did. Families cannot enroll till they know where they're going to enroll, or can they enroll but not know where they're going to, if I were a family today, would I have enrolled and then?
Yeah, you can absolutely. When you are doing the online application, when you put your address in, if it's a Duluth address, it will pop up your neighborhood school, or you can pick a transfer school, or if you don't choose anything, you'll be getting a call from Teresa.
So you can at least start that process, and that gets you in the door, kind of? Okay, great, good to know.
The team did give you some examples of what the enrollment form looked like. From Minnie Mouse. Yes, so we thought Minnie Mouse would like to share that with you, so.
It's our test.
It's our trust, yes. And on the last page, Shannon, for training as far as our wonderful site clerical unit, this handout was provided to them last Friday via, Adele sent it out with a nice email. And they'll be updating the training manual, and we will be letting the clericals know as we move along the process of any changes. So we'll also be available for training and support. Okay. Anything else, Dorothea? You okay?
We're going to have the team at all of our meet and greets coming up for kindergarten, so they'll have kiosks with us to help with the new process. So that'll help, and they'll be there to guide our families with the new process and how to enroll, so that's really going to help us.
Just to make sure that we get that in the microphone. So we're going to have the team there at all the new kindergarten meet and greets to make sure that, with the kiosks, to make sure that families can begin processes. And
Strategically done it so they're all not on the same nights.
oh, that's good. Yep.
Very strategic to change our dates.
That's great. Thank you for that thoughtfulness.
Very exciting. We really support this.
Awesome.
I was gonna really quick.
Member Sadowski, and if you're going to ask a question, come on up real fast. You're going to ask her a question.
I don't know who it's to, but just a really quick follow-up question. I think it's great going to all the sites. Are there any plans to kind of maybe partner with local housing developments that maybe focus on families, to housing young families, to maybe do a meet and greet there or a community night, something like along those lines?
Yes, currently we are scheduled to go to 2 events that St. Louis County down at the depot. They're having a family fest, which is 0 to 5-year-olds. And then they are doing in May a STEAM event down there where we will be available. We can bring our computers if anyone wants to start enrolling their children for kindergarten or any of our preschool programs, we can assist with that right there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, team. Good work.
Thank you, and those are fantastic shoes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Simone.
Thank
So next, board, as Ms. Brown is going to pull up the calendars, we're going to move to our next conversation. Item number 4, which is the sharing of the drafts for the 25-26 school year calendar. So I am pleased to share the drafts that we have developed for the upcoming school year. You have version 1 and version 2. The key differences that you will see within the version 1 and version 2 is when a couple of professional development days are different. On version 1, you will see in October, the professional development day was identified as October 13th, which is Indigenous Peoples Day, because there was consideration that we would hold professional development on Indigenous Peoples Day that would allow families and students to be off from school so that they can participate in community events and celebrations that they would like to, and then our staff would be focused on professional development related to Indigenous people and equity, just like we did this year. After getting feedback from our parent advisory group, our American Indian Parent Advisory Group, I asked them their preference for having the day as a day like now, where there was Indigenous Peoples Day was a professional development day for the upcoming school year, or having it as a regular school day where students would attend, and then the staff and the entire district would focus on providing Indigenous peoples history, culture, and opportunities for celebration in the schools. After receiving their feedback, the consensus was from our American Indian Ed Parent Advisory Committee is to have the day as a regular school day for students. So I'm sharing that because I wanted you to know that I did reach out to our American Indian Advisory Committee for their input on their preference, and it was that it would be a regular school day as identified in version number 2. So I'm sharing both copies because, again, there were 2 choices, and I am recommending now that we move forward with version number 2 for consideration.
Version number 2 without the professional development day on the 13th?
That's right. It would be a regular school day for the district, which, again, that would mean that the school district would engage in the teaching of Indigenous people, history, culture, opportunities for celebrations and events while in school. I'm not sure who was first. Chair Eder?
I just need a question here. So is this going to be put on the regular school board meeting for us to vote on?
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, is it figuring out, having the conversation for version 1 versus version 2?
Actually, this is a conversation sharing that we've engaged in the process.
Okay.
We developed 2 drafts.
And then your support is for version 2?
And my support and recommendation would be for version 2.
Okay, thank you.
And so the conversation is, to have just deeper dialogue around version number 2, if there are any questions or wonderings. And then it is on it will be on the consent agenda for adoption at the end of the month. Member Meixel?
So just to clarify, the version 2 has the additional PD day in May. Is that replacing the one that would be moved off of the October?
That is correct.
Okay. And
Say
then
that again? That's what it was going to.
May, there's a PD day on the 4th. That was not on version 1, and so that's where they're moving that to.
Correct.
And then second question, can you tell me more about the flexible teacher work time during that week before teachers report in August?
Yes. As part of our contract negotiations, teachers are required to engage in asynchronous training opportunities up to 8 hours or for 8 hours before the start of the PD Day on the August 26th. So what you see is opportunities for them to complete that 8 hours. So it just shows that. Director Stevens, is there anything you want to add to what I'm sharing related to that? Okay, thank you. Member Lawful Kemp, and then Member Banks.
Well, one of my questions was the same as Member Michael Sell about the professional day in October, that it's been moved to May. I just wanted to say I'm glad also, because I think a 2-day week in the middle of the week, I know I've just heard from families that that's not good, and, you know, I probably would have taken a vacation that week myself, but then the other question I had was, let's see, it went back to, are we meeting then all of the professional development days in all of the contracts that we, with the version 2?
I will have Director Stevens answer that one.
This calendar is only, although it's the school calendar, it reflects only the professional development for the teachers. We have a separate calendar that we use for the paraprofessionals who have, I believe, 7 days of professional development in their contract. And so where there's a teacher work day, for example, we have one coming this Friday. That is a paraprofessional professional development day. So there is a calendar that looks just like this that's for that paraprofessional, and the other bargaining units will work along this schedule, and then yes, it does cover the amount that they have in their contract.
Okay, great. I'm really glad we're doing this so much ahead of time. The first professional development day is on my birthday, so if you want me to come and do something, I can probably sing or something. I don't know. It's also the day women get the right to vote, August 26th.
Could you help me out here? I'm wondering if the district does any professional development with regard to our African heritage contributions and other related things within the district and beyond. I know we have the Native heritage. I understand that. I appreciate all of that. Has the district ever done anything with regard to the African heritage community related to staff development? Just wondering.
The answer is yes, and even though there's the day is dedicated for Indigenous Peoples Day, the entire day isn't for Indigenous Peoples Day. There's also opportunities for equity in a variety of ways, including African American history and others. And so it's not just for Indigenous Peoples Day learning. And in addition to that, throughout the year, there's always opportunities that we are looking for professional development days that focus around equity, around multiculturalism, around African American studies, and so forth. So the answer is there's not a one day dedicated to it, but throughout the year there are opportunities during the PD days for the teaching of, African American history and culture.
Thank you. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I just needed to get the clarification. Thank you.
And don't forget also, in terms of the calendar, the reason we also were looking at Indigenous Peoples Day, the state and the district moved forward with our equity, advancing equity goal that we have Juneteenth, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day is a day students are not in school, and it's something that is something we're really proud of as well. Chair.
Am I blocking my mic?
No, it's
Okay.
just,
my
I
name.
need better
You don't-
context.
You can call me
Member
Chair.
Lowfoot.
I call you Superintendent.
I'm so used to doing it for.
So just a couple of things, like why did version 1 and 2 come out? Was there, just a general conversation about the Indigenous holiday and how we, as a community, might honor it a little bit more by allowing our students to be off?
Yeah,
One?
the answer is
Okay,
yes. And
okay.
because we were, last year, with the implementation of MLK Day being a
And
day off
Juneteenth,
and
yeah.
Juneteenth, there were questions or wonderings, why not have a day when we support and celebrate Indigenous people?
And so why aren't we? Why aren't we having more of the conversation about should this district move to make this a school holiday? And, because I think where I struggle with this is wanting to honor that day in a different way, and it changed, by bringing teachers or staff in for PD kind of weakens that commitment to that day. I struggle with, and you also shared with us that the Parent Advisory Committee, the APAC Committee advisory support students being in school.
That's
or-
correct.
Or to have a school, because they feel like that provides an opportunity for celebrating that day within classrooms, within assemblies, within music. And if that's your expectation, how do you follow through as administrators to make sure that happens? I've been there.
Right.
I've been in the classroom where we have not had this as a holiday, and we're expected to somehow read a poem or a story. And I think that you're going to get some pushback from that.
Well,
Or if it's done, who's doing the work then? If we're going to do an assembly, that's going to fall on, Coach Lofald, who used to do theater, so they're going to expect me to throw together an assembly. So
Yep.
Dale's ready for this, I can
Dale's
tell.
ready to answer that because there was a lot of planning that was done the year previous to having this year as a professional development day. We anticipated that there's a state requirement that we do spend a certain amount of time on Indigenous Peoples' Day, honoring, celebrating Indigenous people. And so, again, as a district, we were trying to find that balance. The state required us, to answer the first question, the state required us to have MLK Day and Juneteenth as a holiday. They didn't do the same thing for for Indigenous Peoples' Day, but the state, in MDE that is, did put a requirement in there that that if we were going to have a professional development day, when students are off, we were required to focus at least 1 hour, I believe it was 1 hour, on Indigenous peoples' history, culture, and so forth, right? So one was because the state made MLK Day and Juneteenth a holiday, so that took care of that, or we had to follow that requirement, but not Indigenous Peoples' Day. So there was different expectations. But when it came to like how are we going to provide the teaching and learning, the team did a lot of work on if we were going to have a school day, what will we do? And the team has developed something. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Uzma.
All right, thanks. So, yep, as Assistant Superintendent Bonds was saying, another part of that legislation was if it was a school day with students, there had to be 1 hour devoted towards education around American Indian peoples. And there's a list, if you look in the legislation, there's a list of, I think it's like 7 different topics, and we had to make sure that we were covering at least one of those 7 different topics. Director Larva and I saw that legislation in the summer before, so we had just a couple of months to prepare because that legislation came out pretty close to October. We worked with the content specialists at the beginning of that school year, so not this past school year, but the school year before when that legislation went into place. And we created a repository, the content specialist and myself, we created a repository of lessons K through 12. Our main concern is kind of what you were saying. We didn't want the social studies teachers to be the ones who kind of felt like they had to be the token teacher to teach those lessons. So we created a repository across all of the content areas. Some of the content areas like music, they already had lessons ready to go because that was just part of their existing curriculum. So we worked together over a couple of months to make sure that that repository was ready to go. We sent out that messaging to teachers, kind of explaining that change in legislation, shared the repository with them, said, we have to include at least 1 hour of this education, but we highly encourage you to spend more time than that. We already started having conversations within curriculum and instruction because we kind of saw that this was probably the direction we were heading for the 25-26 school year. So we're already doing some preliminary work to revamp that repository, since that was a really quick turnaround type of a thing, to make it even better for the coming school year if we're having school on that day.
Superintendent Magus, and then I'll come to Member Sadowski.
I was just going to say thank you. That really makes me understand this process a little bit better. And I think I agree with Member Loeffler-Kemp that putting a 2-day week in that October week is not always helpful for strong learning. Okay.
Thank you. There was also a change between version 1 and version 2 for the December professional development day from the first week to the second week. Can you explain the rationale on that?
Yeah, that is correct, but it became a moot point once we decided to go with version 2. So that's why I didn't highlight it as a difference. But there was, a reason why we didn't want to have it on that day was related to, it's called Student Count Day or Child Count Day, and there was being that December first date, and again, it became a moot point once we made sure we shifted to version 2 as the recommend, that it became a moot point. But yes, there is a change. I think I said after, I don't know who's next, Member Mikesell.
Just quickly, can you remind us what the process is for coming up with these final versions or drafts? I know there's committees involved, and how does that work?
There is a committee, and what I do annually, because it's something that comes to my office, is the development of the calendar. And usually there's a calendar committee with various representatives being involved. This year, I held brought a committee together. Again, the committee is not always consistent, but it involves DFT members, so teachers are involved. It involved all of our teacher learning equity team. It also involved all of our principals. So the entire team had an opportunity to join at this time it was a virtual meeting to discuss the development of the calendars and to solicit input from them. They were given an opportunity to share their perspectives. We took all the input in terms of ideas and thoughts on where professional development day should appear, and concepts around, just like Member Lofo pointed out, the challenges between, by having an October 13th day, even if it is Indigenous Peoples Day, then how challenging it is to have students be here just for 2 days. That was brought up. So I met with the committee and got a lot of input. I then took that input and worked with a couple of my directors to sit down and map out possible versions. One that would provide, again, Professional Development Day on October 13th, and one that wouldn't. And that developed our version 1 too. I send it back out to the leaders, including the DFT, Ethan Fisher, to provide some additional insight on, are we making sure we hit all of the contractual obligations for professional development? He did provide feedback, which ended up having, if you see version 1 and version 2, one of the things he shared, and it was going through some examples, he shared, if you look on version 1, August 25th, it says Teacher Workday. And that's kind of, it's accurate in terms of it is a workday, but we want to make sure contractually it's more than just a workday. It's actually we were trying to identify the 8 hours of expectations, but it's really a flexible, asynchronous 8 hours to complete training and things that are obligations. And so that's why it looks a little different on August 18th through the 25th on version 2. So there's been lots of opportunities to discuss this again with teacher learning staff, principals, and the DFT. Member Laflakin.
Yeah, can you just confirm, so everyone is hearing this, I guess, what is the required number of student contact days that we're required to have? Just thought it would be good.
Who knows that answer?
Required number of student contact days, I don't have
69? I think it's 169.
I know.
And I know I did have it in my head, I know she was the one who was doing all the counting to make sure that we hit our contractual obligation for student contact.
A reminder as well, and a thank you to the secondary team and Director Larva, the work we did around our high school schedule that we have implemented for this year too has increased the number of minutes of instruction that we have so that we are less in danger of not meeting those minutes based on the number of days that we have, because previously, almost every year, we would not meet the required number of minutes because the shortness of the day and the shorter year that we have. So now we're in a safe range. We also have time built in with our e-learning backup as well. So there's much greater attention to meeting the state standards with those minutes and hours.
Any additional questions related to the 25-26 calendar? All right, thank you for the feedback. Again, this will be presented on the consent agenda for the upcoming school board meeting for approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, if Director Larva, Principal Sebo, and team, come on up. We will have a presentation related to the 25-26 secondary course offering changes. And I'll have Director Larva introduce the team quickly. And
nope, we're good. In your packet, you'll find the course changes. It is, I think it has blue on it. Ours is black and white, but I think yours is blue. Yep. So, evening, everyone. So I brought with me Dale Uzelman and Danette Sebo. We're here today to talk about the course catalog. Now, sometimes I get questions about, well, do we approve the whole course catalog? In effect, you're approving the changes to what we currently have in the course catalog. So today you're going to see the ads that we have for the course catalog, some deletions. There's very few of those. And then there's also title and description changes. We probably aren't going to get into as much depth with those particular courses because a lot of them are just making things align in a different way. So like maybe some of the CTE ones, we're trying to align them for a certain pathway, and we need to have just a different kind of verbiage on there to make sense for what the pathway is in that CTE area. So just sharing that with you as well. So we have quite a few in the CTE world, which is why we brought our fabulous POSA, Danette Sebo, here with us today. So she's going to start us off, kick us off with the CTE portion of all of this. And then Dale's going to talk about a couple of courses that are there, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the deletions that are in here as well so that we can have some clarity around that. I know sometimes we're like wondering, like in this current state where we have with our budget, how are we going to be able to offer all of these? We'll be able to offer what kids select. So we are having our registration window, which is why we are trying to get this in front of you now. So we can get these approvals and then we can finalize, even though it is pretty final right now, our course catalog. But then we'll get the students to start registering here in early February. So that's where our timeline is. So I'm going to turn it over to Danette.
I have to say that I spent over a year revamping our course catalog, so you'll see a very different format for both high school and middle school. We've spent a ton of time with my colleagues here, with the counselors, with the content leads, really trying to clean things up and make sure As we've done this piecemeal through the years, we lost some things and there were some errors. So you should see a very different course catalog. There was a link on the website. We had to create that in order to make QR codes for the registration worksheets. It's been pulled back off for the moment until we actually open it. So if you were one of the people who found it and looked a little bit, you've had a preview, but it's back down again as we finish these things. So I'm going to review the CTE courses for sure, and then there are a couple of other ones that have come out of some other of the things that I oversee, including working with the counselors. So I'll cover a couple of other things. Computer maintenance and repair and computer gaming and design will become part of our new computer science pathway, along with a computer science 10 course. That is one of the new courses that we initially thought could fit in our business pathway because it already exists. As we've worked with the instructors this year, and they have spent a lot of time with computer specialists, including Cindy Miller and people from the state, it's clear that we really needed to be more of a broad computer science. We're not covering computer science standards well. So those will go in there, and then we need, of course, to have a progression through the class. So the gaming and design is maybe self-explanatory. And then the computer maintenance and repair will actually be students almost in an independent study, a work-based learning experience, who will move through Vivacity. Our Chromebook manufacturer has a repair training component that our students will work through, and then they will assist our DISs at the sites with some of those basic computer repair tasks to help free them up to really work with people on program use and really digging in and using all of our programs well. So we're excited about that. Interscholastic officiating is not CTE, but it is something that has grown out of my work with the counselors and trying to find creative ways to offer unique credits. The State High School League worked with Region 3 to create this, so there is a region that's been doing it already. Students move through training modules online under the supervision of an online instructor, and then they'll work with their ADs at their home district. This is only offered through AEO, and we hope to pull in lots of Region 7 students. We are in dire need of officials for Minnesota State High School League activities, and so this is hopefully a grow your own model for that. So we're excited to tiptoe into this. There are fees that students will incur, and we'll have to navigate helping with that if they have financial difficulty, but it's really based on the sports they choose to focus on. So we'll navigate that as we go. I know Duluth has some funds in our AD's offices that can help with this. I'm hoping and assuming our other area schools will do the same. So excited about that new one. Emergency medical technician 1 and 2 become part of our healthcare pathways. We will work closely with partners. This is one of, in the healthcare occupations pathways, there are some unique state licensure requirements that have nothing to do with teaching. And have to do with the specific field. It has to be a paramedic that teaches us, firefighter. So we'll work with a team to develop those, but those will be block classes year-long. Students can't take the EMT test, skills test, until they're 18. So we'll hold them off as long as possible. But we've met with some schools that do this already. They provide EMT services as a work-based learning experience to athletic activities and games, community events. So we'll see how requests come in there. That will kind of align with our Intro to Fire Science that we put in the course catalog last year as that introductory level. Intro to Cooking, Advanced Culinary. Those are some of the course name changes that Director Larva was talking about. They are ProStart 1 and 2 certification courses with all of the things they do, and so we need to just rename those to align.
Member Larfa-Kemp, your light was on, but you just turned off?
Sorry,
Okay.
You mentioned a couple other schools with the EMT, and
Spring Lake Park is the one that we've
kind of modeled
after. They've been doing this for a really long time and have developed some unique partnerships that I think will help us.
Okay, great. And then on that first page, are you going to go back to the American Sign Language? Oh, okay, great.
I'll cover mine and
I
then I'll
just
go
wondered.
back, so yes.
Okay, thank you.
Business and personal Dale's going to talk about that one. Introduction to Cooking and Advanced Culinary, I covered those. Same with advanced baking. Becoming the Art of Baking and Pastry. It's really a program alignment. I will talk about the world language in a minute. But other than that, and I mentioned Computer Science 10 kind of being reworked to align to a computer science pathway. In the business pathway, it's really about business applications, Microsoft Office certifications, things like that. That's not the broad skills we want all of our students to have a taste of before they head out into the adult world. So that's been adjusted. So
Superintendent Magus?
You've shared recently a couple of times some new kind of a point of pride related to number of offerings that we have.
Yes. So once I get program amendments through and program approvals through this year, we will have the second most program pathways in the state of Minnesota, and we're never going to beat Anoka Hennepin because they're giant. And cosmetology is incredibly expensive, and I don't have anywhere to plumb yet. So we might beat them, but for this year, we're tied for number 2, if not on our own in number 2. We'll see when the program approvals and amendments settle out for the year. So that's exciting.
Member Sadowski?
Just have a quick question about the Computer Science 10. I think you just mentioned it. Sorry, I have a slight headache this morning, or this evening. Can you tell me what the changes will be from this year to next year?
So they're already changing now with a lot of support from experts and state officials. Cindy Miller and Peter Graves and I are part of a collaborative on really implementing solid K-12 computer science standards with a focus on Indigenous populations. And so we're working with Fond du Lac schools, Hermantown, and somebody else are a little more advanced than us. This is year 2 for us, and we're really trying to grow that K-12. At the high school level, we realized early on that letting this live in the business pathway had too narrow a focus. We couldn't get the program approval through in that Microsoft Word focused, Excel. It's very much a Microsoft suite focused thing. We don't really have desktop computers for our students to use, which is an issue at the moment. Nor is that the broad skill base we really want our students to have as they head into different career pathways in the world of work. So pulling computer science principles out of the business pathway and into a computer an information technologies pathway will introduce them to a much more broad level of skills, from computer hardware to problem solving to website design to how to identify issues on a computer or on your phone or on a system and how to navigate that. App design can be in there. A lot of things that they'll be using in different career fields will fill that. And then if they are excited about that pathway in particular, we're developing some ways to advance. So it's really a shift away from a Microsoft suite focus to a much more broad computer literacy focus.
Perfect. And what I'm hearing is it's even going to change this year. So our
It's already
10th
changing,
graders that
yes, yep.
are kind of just wrapping it up, our 10th graders next semester are going to see a little bit of some different curriculum.
Yes, so some of that shifted even at the end of first semester as we started to connect our current teachers. We didn't know who was going to be teaching that this summer as the course was being built. Started spending time together as a team, so we have AEO, ALC, Denfeld, and East teachers who have been meeting. Middle school is included in that. They're part of the revamp of what middle school computer science looks like. And they've spent time with a lot of those experts, benefited from the collaborative we're part of and what schools in the region are having success with. So that's been great. They've been writing grants to get equipment, to try a little bit of robotics and to try a little bit of programming. And so it should become more hands-on and much less
Memorization.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Member Lawful?
The additions to our CTE offerings, are they within already the parameters that we have staff already for them? You know, I know we struggle at times for instructors in our areas.
Yes.
So when you're making these potential offerings, you already know that we have staff in our buildings?
With the exception of EMT.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I've been assured that we will have a lot of support from our Essentia, St. Luke's, Mayo Ambulance, our firefighting departments, our volunteer departments regionally. Everyone really needs this. And so I continue to get assurances that we'll have a lot of support building it. Yeah. Anything else on CTE? Otherwise, I'll discuss.
Superintendent
world
Magus
language.
has another question.
More of a comment, and sorry, I try not to be too verbose, but we've been working very closely together with the higher ed institutions and the city and others, with local industry, with the chamber, with Apex, around a new CTE initiative called the Duluth Promise, and we'd like to bring more information to the board in the very near future, maybe at our next committee of the whole. That might be something for us to consider, but basically it is taking part of what we're doing with CTE already and making it much more robust, and making sure that the partnership with local industry and local businesses is built in to begin with, that there's an equity focus and making sure that there's greater access, and also that there's credit agnosticism between the different institutions. And we're also seeking, as part of our legislative platform, support for that as far as some additional support. So just since we're talking about CTE, I just wanted to reiterate that this is very central to something that we hope to do as a district, but something that will have impact on the community at large.
Member LaFlamme, and then Member Banks.
Yeah, just clarify to me, do all 10th graders still take health class and are required to do CPR? Is it CPR, I think?
CPR is built into the health class, yes.
So, and for all 10th graders, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then do we do, just with all the health conversations we're having with CTA, like a health fair for, careers in health? Just like the Construct Tomorrow Day. So I just.
We do.
Okay. I thought we did,
We
yeah.
actually do offsite and onsite. So the region has Discover Healthcare event. We trade off every year. The Range hosted or Duluth hosted. It was in Duluth at St. Scholastica this fall, right? I might be off on my rotation. And then our schools will host healthcare career fairs as well. Through our career centers, they'll bring in a lot of regional professionals.
So Assistant Superintendent Bonds, I actually have questions for all three of the folks here, but I'd like to wait until the other part of the presentations are done before I do that. Is that okay?
That is fine.
All right.
Yes.
February is also CTE month, so get ready for the dog and pony show. The other thing that I would discuss, primarily because I've been part of the discussion for a long time, is the changes to our world language course progression and where college credit opportunities fall. We are maybe the only school in Minnesota that offered high school credit for world language in 8th grade. And so we had attached 2 college courses, 8 full credits to year 5 of world language, and no CITS credits at any other level. When Ojibwe became one of our world language offerings, that college credit, also a full 8 credits, is attached to year 3. We have struggled to maintain enough class sizes of students who started in 8th grade, knew all the way down there, and then had the time in their schedule and the capacity and the drive to follow it all the way through to year 5 for those 8 college credits. As we phase out that college credit in the middle school, because it's an exploratory combination of years now, we needed a way to move that, and we also wanted to expand the opportunity for students to get college credit. So with the year 5s, there were 2 1200 level credits, which is an intermediate level of world language for Spanish and German. Taking it out of year 5, and I'll talk about the transition so we don't abandon anybody. Taking it out of year 5 and putting 4 credits into year 3 and 4 credits into year 2 changed one of those opportunities. So that initial 1200 level class stays there with year 4 now, and an 1100 level class, the beginning class, is attached to year 3. So we just shifted to an 1100 and a 1200 instead of 2 1200s. In order for that transition to not abandon anyone, we will offer, we will continue to offer a regular CITS 3 for Spanish and German. I'm sorry, a regular and a CITS for year 3. Because many students will want a third year of language that may not want college credit. And then year 4, for at least this next year, for German alone, we're offering both. 3 and 4 German at Denfeld has only survived with enough class sizes because they run it blended. So we'll kind of do that moving forward. So when they're in it as a year 3 student, they'll earn those first 4 credits, and a year 4, they'll earn the next 3. But we also are navigating CITS credentialing, as is every other school in the state of Minnesota. And as we work through that, we may need to, just based on teacher availability, run 4 as a regular. So we'll see how registration goes there, working with our teachers to get them credentialed as well, because we anticipate having many more sections of CITS World Language this way. So for next year, we'll offer CITS 3 and regular 3, CITS 4, there's no regular 4 left, except for German 1 more year as we transition. And then the regular CITS 5, the way it sits right now, will stay there. So students who are ready for 5 will still take 5 next year. Again, running it is based on registration. And then the year after that, we'll eliminate the year 5 with its 2 options, because some students will have taken the first class in CITS 4 next year. So 2 years from now, CITS 5 will just have the one college class attached to it. This is explained very clearly in the course catalog where the world language is. So when you see that, I can share a link to that too, just to explain it better. It's just a little half-page synopsis of here's what this year looks like, here's what next year looks like. So all of our students, many more of our students will be able to earn 4 to 8 college credits for their world language. So.
Member Meixel, and then Member Larflekamp.
What is the rationale of us offering college credits in languages? Is it a requirement? Is it something nice that we do?
It's one of the avenues that can be very popular and hold students to stay in our high schools and earn among the 84 current college credits we currently offer, rather than leave for PSEO. Our area schools, no one has a level 5, but that's college credit is available to students at 3 and 4 and the rest of our area schools if they offer a 4. So we're trying to align more with that. And we had so few students who made it that far and were able to earn that level of college credit that we really needed to expand our opportunities.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Member Larflekamp.
And don't a lot of colleges look for students to have at least 3 years of a language in enrollment? Still, I mean, at least I know when my 4 went, thank you for offering Spanish to all of them, that was kind of a criteria too.
Yes, thank you. Most four-year colleges and universities require students to take at least 2 years of a world language. And so if they're leaving us with 2 college classes already down, it can save them a significant amount of money coming into their first year at a college.
Thank you.
Well, I have to start off by giving Danette a lot of praise. The new course catalog, if you haven't seen it yet, when it comes back live, it looks fantastic. It's so much cleaner and it offers some interactivity for students. She's put a lot of time and effort into helping students be able to plan ahead for their future career or college goals by making that catalog interactive and a lot cleaner to look at. So lots of praise to you on that, Danette, because it looks great. And that actually, what you were saying at the end there kind of guides us into the first one that I was going to talk about, which is American Sign Language 2. As Danette was saying, lots of four-year colleges and universities look for that second year. We started offering American Sign Language 1 this year. We have it running at both Denfeld and East. So we'll be adding American Sign Language 2 next year so that the students in ASL 1 can move on to the second year of that. And then you'll also notice that we put business and personal finance as a title change to personal finance, as well as a description change. As we're getting ready to make sure that that course, now that it's required, I know we came to the school board last year and talked about that requirement now through legislation. MDE is starting to put out some guidance as to what that course needs to look like to fulfill that requirement. So you'll notice there's a description change there. That's based off of some of the initial guidance that we're getting from MDE. One thing that I wanted to note is students who have already taken personal finance, that will count for the requirement, so they won't have to take it again. We're good to go there because I know that was a concern from the community. That's personal finance. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about is you'll notice a list of middle school courses that are going through description changes at the very end of your documents. Those are all courses that are new this year due to the media arts requirements or the addition of the outdoor ed elective. Now that we've ran those courses and we have a better idea of what they look like in application, we wanted to make sure that the descriptions better reflected that so that students had a good idea of what those courses would look like.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll kind of close this section off here. So there are 2 deletions that you'll see on the document. I think it's the second page. The first one is Geometry 9. It's not that we're not offering geometry to 9th graders, just so you're aware. We do have kids that currently are taking intermediate math at grade 8. And so they do still have the pathway to go into geometry. But what's been really different has been we have had geometry and we've had Geometry 9. And so 9th graders have only ever been allowed in the 9th grade course. With our budget realignment process that we're going through, just creating it as geometry gives us a little bit more flexibility when it comes to scheduling. So we're taking away the Geometry 9 and kids will all just be registering for geometry, which means that, yeah, 9th graders will be in with 10th graders and potentially 11th and 12th graders. But it's more in alignment with it gives more flexibility for our schedule. So that's why that one has been put on the document for deletion. Our next one is journalism. Now, again, this comes down to some of our budget reduction conversations that we're having. Journalism is one of our more expensive classes to run. It does have a stipend that is attached to it. And it doesn't currently have any state standards that are associated with it. So it doesn't really meet our needs for like our English graduation requirements or any of that. So we are going through ELA implementation next year. The committee is aware that we're taking away journalism as it stands, and their task is going to be to come up with something that is more aligned with state standards for the future. It's not going to hit the course catalog for this year, but for down the road, we'd have something where we'd have an opportunity for kids to do some of the same kinds of activities, but maybe associated with more state standards. And so that's why that one is on the deletion at this point in time.
Member Sadowski?
Just a really quick clarification. I think I'm understanding the geometry conversation that you just had, but students in our 8th grade middle schools will still be able to take an advanced math and move into geometry in 9th grade. They just may take it with 10th graders.
Yep.
Perfect, thanks.
Yep.
Member Banks?
Thank you very much. I have a question for all 3 of you. Hopefully you can answer the question. So as I look at this 25-26 course changes, I see computer gaming and design. I see American Sign Language 2, interscholastic officiating. I see baking, learning how to bake and learning how to cook. All great courses. I see German, I see Spanish. I see a whole bunch of things here. But I don't see anything regarding the African American community or the Black experience in America. I'm struggling with the fact that you have added intro to baking or cooking, but you can't seem to come up with a course, just one course, on African American or African heritage studies. That is so remarkable to me when we have African heritage kids in the school district when we have white students in the school district that don't have that experience and understanding of what the contributions were and continue to be with regard to our African heritage population in America, but you're able to add all of this, right? So why is it so difficult to add just one course for our kids to get the education they need? I know the ethnic studies requirements are coming in about a year or so. It shouldn't be something that's forced on us. And why is it so easy to add these courses here and so difficult to add just one course at our high schools that focus directly on the contributions of African Americans in this country?
So I will start off addressing this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dale to kind of answer some of the other pieces of it. You already approved it last year. You already approved the course that we have last year that we weren't able to run this past year, but is going to be running, well, hopefully with enrollment, will be running. So we have a diverse perspectives course that was being written and has gone through some process. I know that the teacher who is creating the course had brought it to EAC for some feedback and some input as well. But I am going to let Dale talk a little bit more about that because you're closer to that work.
Yeah.
And Dr. Usman, can you make sure you name the course that's being under development or has been created? as you
Yep,
speak?
I'll name
Thank you.
both of them. Yep. So you mentioned diverse perspectives. That course is not running this year. We didn't have the enrollment for it. We're going to continue working on it. It is in the course catalog for next year. That course will include narratives by BIPOC authors. Students will study those, as well as LGBTQ plus authors. So that's diverse perspectives. We actually, and I'm excited about this, we actually were just able to make the decision to, once we took a closer look, that course will fulfill the senior requirement for English language arts. So students who choose to take that course, it will fulfill that requirement. In addition to that, we have developed and are running next semester African American literature. That's running at ALC this coming semester. That was presented to EAC. We got there's actually a couple of board members there who are able to provide feedback to us. We have a great teacher who has built that course and is really passionate about that course. So that's going to run this semester. That will also fulfill the senior requirement for English language arts for graduation, and it's in the course catalog. It'll run next year. Ethnic studies is also another one that was approved by the board last year. That's going to be in the course catalog again for this coming year.
And yes, I'm well aware of what we've approved and all of that. But my question is, while we are adding all of these courses, there needs to be a specific course that's not watered down, that focuses specifically on the African American contributions to this country. And there's a lot of courses available out there that our kids need now and not a year or two from now, but they need it now. Because if our kids are going to be successful, they need to have a wide array of opportunities because they're going to be interacting with people from all walks of life. If we're able to do the Spanish and the German, we should be able to do this as well, and making it a course that is specific to that population. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, we just know that this is something that we need to have approved so that we can run our course catalog and get registration. So this is just for you to preview, and we should be able to act on it at the school board meeting, correct?
Yes, this will be added onto the consent agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Member Banks, I want to say thank you for sharing that perspective, and we hear you, and I will commit to, again, going back to the team to have further discussions regarding such a course and the opportunities that could be presented for our students. And so I will follow back up with the board on the possibility of such a course moving forward. And we did want to make sure we highlighted the courses that were approved last year, and there is progress being made. I too, the team knows me as well. I too have expressed similar kind of urgency around the development of courses that are diverse to ensure that our course catalog reflect and provide opportunities for the students that exist in this community. And so, again, small efforts have been made, and we still have a long way to go. And I acknowledge that, and we're going to continue to make sure that the offerings reflect the interests of all of our students in this district. So I share the same urgency and passion that you're sharing as well. I'll go to Chair Eder.
And I appreciate Member Banks, I appreciate bringing those sorts of topics up here, but as school board members and as school board, we have to be very careful when we get too much into directing curriculum and directing our staff to talk about what courses that we want offered within the district. Those processes have very specific and pathways that they need to be go through. So I do appreciate it, and I do want it noted, but as part of our conversation, if the curriculum piece is really handled on the management side and we are more on the governance side. So if we want to have conversations about what courses that we need to bring forward, I think that needs to be handled with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent through the pathways that we have available.
Thank you. Member Lawful Kemp, and then Member Mike Sol.
Thank you for your work on this. I always like this this time of the year before registration happens and we get to hear what the work that's been done to open up new doors for our kids and courses and things. So thank you on that. I thought it might be helpful because it's been kind of touched on a little bit, but it might be helpful particularly for some of our new board members is just when we start that and maybe you're going to do this in February, so if you are, that's okay. When we start that registration process, how do we decide if we even offer these great courses? Just kind of, yeah.
I'm going to let Danette take this because she was a principal that had to make some very tough decisions when she was at East High School, and so she's very well versed in what happens.
So very broadly and somewhat briefly, there's a spreadsheet for that. Please don't laugh at me. But we take student requests, put them in a spreadsheet, and we kind of break it into goal section amounts. So if we say our goal is to keep geometry at 32 students apiece, how many sections do we need? And you start to do all of those calculations into what does that equate to in FTE. So we have a target number by site. And so we move things around to make it work. So we want all of our students to get what they requested. We have limits based on budget, of course. We will try to offer everything, and sometimes that means tweaking geometry up into the 36 range so that we can offer drama as literature or something like that. So you're balancing and shuffling. You're also limited by facility. There's only so many art hours in the day that lab can be used, that the auto shop can be used. So that's a limit. And you can only put so many bodies in these spaces at a time as well. And then there's also limits based on staff availability. So we can't hire a manufacturing teacher to teach 5 extra sections a day, even though sometimes we could fill them. But they could go on and over. It's kind of a balance and shuffle, trying to maintain as many sections as you can without making class sizes unsafe, irresponsible, not best practice. And so that's kind of how that works. Sometimes it means going out and hiring additional math teachers, additional English, additional art based on student requests. Those numbers really fluctuate. There are scheduling models where the schedule never changes and first come, first serve students go in there. We are a district that has really adjusted based on student needs, which makes this budgeting process difficult because we can't just say, we're eliminating this or that. We haven't done registration yet. That natural flow happens every year based on student requests. We need a little less of this or a little more of this. And so that you see that happen at the high school level. But it's based on student requests as much as possible with those handful of constraints.
And sometimes we do have to make a little bit more of an investment if we want certain classes to run. I think about sometimes specifically like our Ojibwe mowing classes have been sometimes under the threshold that we have, but we just have more of an investment in that area to ensure that those courses are run.
The restaurant at East is another great example of this district committing significant funds to a very small group of students because it was such a priority for us for a long time.
Thank you. And so I know because we offer so many things that sometimes we haven't offered classes because students have chosen other options and, you know, having 3 people wanting interest in a class or whatever, I'm just going to throw out, we haven't offered, we've offered it, but students' numbers will decide if it's happening. So, okay, thank you.
I believe it was Member Meixel, Superintendent Magus, then I know Member Lowell.
Mine was
The light has
first,
gone
but
on and
I-
off, so I
On, off, on,
it
off,
kept
but-
going off, so I'm just
Okay.
Member Meixel.
Just in an effort of transparency, I was hoping we could talk a little bit more about journalism
Oh, well,
and it
yeah.
being deleted. I know over the course of my life, you know, many students who've been passionate about the journalism programs at various schools, and so wanting you to expand a little bit on the work that's being done to provide students, you know, potential other avenues of learning some of those skills.
So some of those might be kind of wrapped into that computer science bit with some of the communication pieces that are coming out of that. But we do know that it's going to be a year of a gap with that. And we do know that the ELA committee is taking on that challenge. So they'll be working through that process.
Member Lowell and Superintendent Magus will go since he left.
I just want to piggyback off of Member Mike Sells because I do think there's a lot of, this would be a deletion that I think will gain some community, you know, kind of questions. So even more transparency maybe about, you know, you mentioned a stipend and, you know, could we not offer us? I know why the stipend. I taught it for a while when I first came into the district. And, you know, so newspapers have certainly evolved and we're not doing the same kinds. I don't even, is the Greyhound being paperly published? I think it is, yeah. You know, and again, I can see some of my colleagues across the years, this is really gonna, you know, they're retired, but they're gonna come out of the woodwork to say, you know, we need that Criterion or we need that Greyhound. But, and in actuality, at Denfeld, it's grown lately because, again, it's kind of specific to instructors, and if they can gain some real, you know, students that love that activity. So I think you mentioned that there are going to be, the ELA committee is going to work on some other offering that mirrors what maybe journalism offers now, but maybe without that, you know, published newspaper piece, but a place where kids can use, like our journalism class at Denfeld is using, you know, video and more, you know, kind of online events and opportunities for Denfeld. So I don't know. It's kind of a house of lots of things. They do announcements and they're well done and people are watching them for the first time in a long time. So I don't know.
I think one of the things we've been thinking, in addition to the changing ELA standards, is that the way it's evolved, it has become much more of a career and technical education pathway program. And so the communications field includes graphic arts right now. We're adding the computer science. But all of those things are in there. And so as we grow that, I think we need to be a little, we need to update what we're offering students based on what they want and need, what industry wants and needs. There are very few newspapers still being published, so that doesn't really fit with a career and an intentional career exploration model. We want to make it a little more what industry is using right now. The writing and the technical pieces of that, I think, will still fit really well in whatever ELA does and grows. But I think the program, the journalism experience will move into a career and tech ed field soon. I'm trying not to overpromise.
Go for number one.
Superintendent Magus?
So several things to comment on, and I'll try and keep it brief. thinking about what we've said about course offerings and what you mentioned as far as what we can run and what we can't run based on enrollment, that is affected pretty significantly by the budget. And I know that we've come to the board with some very difficult decisions and thoughts related to budget and program changes and things like that. And we really are close, very close, and really at a point where if we are considering additional reductions or changes in recommendation, it would likely have impact on the secondary, particularly the high school offerings. If we're changing from some of our plans related to budget, and I'll share some information out with the board too related to some of the things that you've asked about. But this would be our next line of reduction, and we've tried really hard based on student input and family input to avoid this, because that's something that our students said, hey, please try not to reduce our offerings. And also when we expanded to a 7-period day, we're hearing from people, hey, please make sure that you're continuing to offer the things that we want to take. And then also, to your point, Member Banks, thinking about some of the other courses that we've placed a little more emphasis on to make sure it can run, because it's something we value from an equity perspective. I think that that's something that we need to consider quite seriously. And I'm just going to say something that for the public as well. We have people speaking against things like equity. We've had phone calls from community members saying really negative things that are angry and bordering on threatening. And I think it's important for us as the leaders of our school district to make sure that we continue to be a place where equity is valued. And really, when we think about our 3 priorities, we have improving systems that you saw today. We have supporting every student. But advancing equity is and will continue to be an important aspect of what we do in the district. Even thinking about like our legislative platform, we haven't mentioned the word specifically equity in the platform, but that's something we believe in, and I think that it can be spelled out, and I've talked about that with our lobbyists, that's something that we need to be. There's no reason not to have the word equity in our platform, and really maybe now is the time when we say equity a little more strongly in the work we do. So I want to say that I join you in your thoughts related to making sure that our offerings are appealing to all. And I think that it is an interesting point to Chair Derek Eater's point, thinking about how do we frame the conversation? How do we have conversation? Like if like this happens to be something I support, so I'm like, yeah, right, Henry, let's add these courses. But how do we make sure that it's not, just for instance, one board member with the right idea saying you need to do this? How do we do it collectively, right? And I think that that's something that we're all working on, and also thinking we have a board retreat coming up next Thursday, which is very quickly, and we'll send out a poll to people so that we can gain topics for that retreat. But one of the things that we're talking about is chapters 3 and 4 from our book. And so this might be like a real life example of something that we could dive into, because there's no wrong to this. It's just figuring out how do we do it collectively in a way that moves us forward and moves us on those priorities. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for what we've done, and thanks for the courses that have been offered too. They're a broad selection, and I'm glad that we offer robust learning opportunities for all of our students.
Thank you. And for clarification, again, board members, this is an item that will come to the board for approval as part of the consent agenda on January 28th. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that as well. And our last presentation for the night. Come on up. Team, I have Director Sparts, Principal Hessler, Principal Nichols, and Dr. Tice, who is our coordinator for our Spanish immersion programming. And we'll make sure, Brenda, quickly just let them introduce themselves, and I'll turn it over to you regarding our Spanish immersion expansion.
I'm Lisa Nicholson. I'm the principal at Myers-Wilkins.
I'm Brenda Sparks. I'm the Director of Elementary Education.
Coordinator for the Nueva Visión Spanish Immersion Program.
And I'm Eve Hessler. I'm the principal at Lowell.
Well, good evening. First of all, I just want to give a really heartfelt thanks for the board members who could make it last night, for showing up to the parent meeting. I think that was a really good show for the parents that we care about their perspective. We want to hear them. I think it was really important. So I know we all really appreciated you being there. So I just want to make sure to acknowledge that. Tonight, I know you've seen some versions and some information pertaining to this. We put this together with some background of why, some data supporting it, some information, and then especially like what now. So we'll just go through this. As we go through it, we have people here who are boots on the ground and supporting the process. So they'll be able to help us out. I'll kind of go through the slides and then we can have some discussion. So today we're going to share information about the creation of a Spanish immersion program at Myers-Wilkins. We're calling it Spanish Immersion Expansion Program. It's really an expansion of opportunity and access to this special programming that's been very successful at Lowell. And now we want to share that success with other families in a different location. So we're going to share the objectives of the project, the steps we've taken so far, some information, like I said, kind of an overview of the plan, and then some next steps. So really, it surrounds three different topics. One is, like I just said, is expanding that opportunity and really direct access to this enhancement programming. Instead of a student having to leave Myers-Wilkins boundaries to go and access this programming, it'll be in their community neighborhood school. So they don't have to leave their neighborhood to be able to access this program. So really, we're addressing that lower socioeconomic families, diverse families can access this right where they are. They don't need to leave. Integration of programming opportunities aimed at decreasing the percentage of protected class students at Myers-Wilkins. They are a racially identifiable school by Minnesota Department of Education. Within our Achievement and Integration Grant, which we get that grant, we get access to that grant by this identification. Really one of the goals, and I'll show you that, has to do with this. So we must address this. And the last one is alleviating Lowell from the overcrowding. And I think you're all aware of that. We'll show you some data that shows you how much it's grown and why it's the responsible thing to do right now is to kind of better size the enrollment at that school for the future. So what we did this last fall is, first of all, we did a lot of data analysis. We really had to dig in to figure out what were the numbers, where were the kids coming from, which schools had the most kids sitting in Spanish immersion, the hubs, the housing situation, so many different pieces of information that we needed to know what we were talking about, so we really dug into the data, developed a rough plan. After kind of having this rough plan, met with various district staff, presented to the cabinet. We discussed it at the cabinet a couple times. Really involved the principals in that as well. And then we also had a meeting with facilities, early childhood. So we had to talk to some of the players that are involved So we did that all before Christmas. Once we got to a certain point, though, we needed to let everybody know. So that was last Wednesday. We had a staff meeting at Myers. We had a staff meeting at Lowell. I went to Myers Wilkins. Mr. Rollins went to Lowell, and we presented at the same time with the same information, letting them know what the plan was. And then at the same time, we had communication go out to the parents. We thought about many different ways to do this communication. And no matter which way we thought about it, people wouldn't get it. They would get it at different times, and we knew that it would just rock the boat and someone would feel like they weren't informed. There was just kind of no best way. We just did it in the way that we thought made the most sense. So that's what we ended up doing.
And just to comment on that, even though the slide says September through January, we've been having conversations around this for years. It's been ongoing. And some of the previous conversations, even before I came here, and I addressed this in the meeting last night, but also in the media, that there were concerns and a lot of infighting about who should move, what should move, and a lot of finger pointing and kind of sometimes divisive conversation. And so that's part of the reason, and I said this is more of a top-down decision based on what we've listened to and what we've felt is best, because having a big debate over who should move out of Lowell would not be popular. It would be a negative situation, and so that's part of it. And then also, when we think about that release of information to the public, we have staff members who are parents. We have parents who work, in the media in the district. And so once one entity is informed, it's going to be public and it's going to be on Facebook. And so we felt like it was important for everybody to hear in relatively quick succession. We did tell families first, and then we told our parents, we told the staff first, then families, and then the public. But it was in quick succession because there are 2 degrees of separation in Duluth, and we wanted to make sure that it was our information getting out there rather than a perception or semi-informed perspective.
Thank you. We also, actually, Anthony, John, myself, who else? We attended the Lowell PTA meeting last Thursday. It was a scheduled PTA meeting. At a certain point, they did change the agenda to have only this on the agenda, and I did talk to one of them, and they did invite us, so we went. And that was how we kind of kicked off the conversation, which we followed up with last night with a more formal way of talking to and addressing the parents. So that's what we did last night. And then, of course, tonight. So that's what we've done so far with the planning and then the communication. So getting into some of the information. So this slide here represents transfers, so in-district transfers from other elementary schools to Lowell for the Spanish immersion programming only. And so as you can see, we have the schools listed there, Congdon, Homecroft, and on down you go. The key takeaway from this slide is the #1 school that transfers students into Spanish immersion outside of Lowell is Myers Wilkins. They had 82 students approved to go there for the last 6 years. 60 still are sitting there in the program. So 60 kids will be actually going back to their neighborhood school. So that's just, I didn't know that before I actually crunched this data. I thought it was Congdon. And then I did this and I was like, oh, hey, wait, like actually, kids are gonna be able to go to their neighborhood school now within the Spanish immersion programming. So, of course, Congdon you can see is the second most, and then followed by Lester Park and Homecroft with 33 each. This also shows kind of a retention on the far right-hand side. because we always have attrition in the immersion programming, that a lot of kids come in kindergarten, and as they move first to second to third, each year they move, the class loses some of the kids that are in Spanish immersion. They move, they decide Spanish immersion isn't for them. There's probably,
And I just want to say that attrition was really heavy during the 1920, 2021 school year with COVID, because immersion was very, very difficult
during that
on a
time.
computer. 2
Okay,
days a week.
yep. So basically, that's the main message from this slide. This has to do with Lowell enrollment. This slide on enrollment with Lowell and the Myers-Wilkins, I wasn't aware of that either before I started digging into this, so it's kind of interesting to me that 10 years ago, Lowell had 345 kids in that school. And now, today, or whenever, this was after Christmas that I got this information, they have 642 kids in that building. That's almost 300 kids more. That's huge. I just wasn't aware of that. I thought it was pretty interesting and kind of just supports the over-enrollment that we have going on at that school. When you get these slides, you guys already have these slides, I believe, at your access. The links on the bottom, if you were interested to go in and look at every year, the spreadsheets are there for you, if you want to. I just included the 2 data points, but you can go and look at all of them. So on the next slide, really the key takeaway is that there's 300 kids more there. In 1920, we had to add a second budget code. 2019, 2020, so sorry. We had to add a second budget code for the Spanish immersion. At that school, the demographics of free and reduced lunch, having them together under one number, it was taking away their access to title. Breaking off Spanish immersion allowed English and Ojibwe programming to still access Title I. Because of the percentages, it took it below the threshold. So that was a smart move. We still have title there. It's still supporting the English and Ojibwe programming there. And then this last thing, I know that you guys are aware of the specialist schedule and how we've had to double up. And on each day, we have 2 classes in a space. We have been having that, up to 48 kids in a classroom with 2 teachers in a space that is not appropriate. We've had to do that. This is the 2nd year in a row because a full specialist schedule is 24 classes. 4 days, 6 blocks, that's 24. All the schools fit in that model except one, and that was Lowell. And it's really because there's too many classrooms there. So we had to add this extra day in there that supported their extra sections. We've made it work. It's been okay. I put okay in quotes because, as you know, there's been lots of problems with it. But we've made it work. But really, that's just another piece of information.
Member Lawful?
Just because I was at last night's meeting too, so when we have specialists in our Lowell school, do our Ojibwe and our Spanish immersion students take art in English, like with other sections of? Okay, so that's interesting. That didn't really gel until I thought about it last night. And then, are there other schools coming to Lowell immersion Spanish from Hermantown, ESCO? Do we have that? We do. And is there a reason why you're not putting those numbers in, just for our
Yes,
information?
there is a reason.
Okay.
There's actually, currently in the program, there's 25 kids that are open enrolled to Spanish immersion. I looked that up on Monday because I was curious. So, yeah, 25 kids, 23 next year. We don't know kindergarten, but so 23 for 1st grade through 5th grade for next year. We did actually look at open enrollment because we included them with kids staying at Lowell. We were only working with the schools that were the transfers, but then we were like, okay, well, maybe we take open enrolled students and add them into Myers. But then when we looked into it on Monday, state statute actually says when a student open enrolls in your district, they are opening enrolling to a school, and then the district cannot unilaterally decide to change the school they're assigned to. So we didn't know that. We learned something new. That was very interesting. So the answer is no, we cannot just take them and put them in Myers-Wilkins per MDE and state statute. So Adele did find a piece that she put in the FAQ for families, just to let them know where they can look for that statute if they want to, which is just an interesting piece.
And thank you for pointing that out and clarifying it again for the community, that the reason why open enrollment students who are already enrolled in our immersion program for Spanish are allowed to stay there, it's because of state statute. So it's really clear. We do have that as part of the FAQ for those who are asking why not reassign some of those students. And moving forward, we will have the ability through our normal process to make decisions on if future open enrollment students will be allowed to attend Lowell or Myers-Wilkins. We'll go through our normal process, and if space is available, decisions will be made to assign those students to one school or the other moving forward. Member Loeffler Kemp.
And can I just follow up with that? I mean, I don't want to, get in the weeds so much, but when we have offered immersion programs, even when we were doing, I think in a way financially, we are trying to attract from outside our district, because then we truly are adding our enrollment. Simone will tell us if we just can get 50 more students enrolled, we might not have a 7.5 million. So when we are able to enroll outside our district, those are true new enrollments. And immersion is an expensive option for all of us in this district. And when we take from within our own schools and just bring them into our immersion, that really doesn't save us any money at the school host that they left, unless a whole section of, Stowe students go to the immersion, and then we can reduce a staff at Stowe, then we're okay, but that doesn't happen. So we end up staffing more than, our numbers sometimes allow, because we are piecemealing out of Congdon and Leicester and Stowe and Mac, and we're never really saving within those buildings. So when we get a true new enrollment, that is something our district looks at for, for future, future stuff. So thank you for kind of clarifying that, and then, knowing that, yeah.
Thank you. Member Loeffler Kemp.
Yeah, and again, I appreciated the meeting last night as well, and hearing the many questions families had. I think you explained this piece that we're talking about right now well last night in terms of the state statute and that. I'm wondering on the Q&A for families, are you going to kind of even put more information on there on open enrollment and transfers and that? Because I think there was still there was just so much information last night, some maybe not clear on, are we going to close open enrollment for kids from the surrounding area? Are we not? And things like that. And I'm excited to hear these numbers of kids that we brought in from other districts, because I was on the board when we worked to get this program, and that was one of our hopes. But so I think just kind of clarifying, I guess, more the transfer policy, the open enrollment on that question and answer will be really important.
The answer is yes. Our FAQ is a live document, and as questions continue to come, we continue to add those things to our FAQ, and that is one of the things that we are adding more information regarding the availability, the interdistrict and open enrollment transfer process. So those things will be either hyperlinked there, or additional information will be provided in the FAQ.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as far as open enrollments go, we'll just have to be thoughtful on from what we learned on where we place them, and so, yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I'm looking at the most recent updated FAQ. Adele has already added that information right there. Where can you find information about transfer process? And the hyperlink is there. So Adele is on top of it already. Again, as questions come in, we are adding that information to the FAQ.
So this is Myers. This is an interesting piece. Again, I wasn't aware of. 11 years ago, they had 444 kids in that building. They have 300, or they did, as of the other day, 313 students at Myers Wilkins. So that's a loss of 131 students in that building. I think people are asking, like, is there enough space? Well, there were that many kids there. So I think if you have more space, you spread out more. And I think some of that has happened at Myers, which is awesome for them. We're just going to have to, like, take some of that space back for these classrooms. But anyway, also another key piece here is in the blue and the yellow. Like I said, for A&I, achievement and integration, which we are responsible for desegregating Myers-Wilkins. What we have been accomplishing is more segregation. The non-white students at that school, actually over the last 11 years, it's increased by almost 10%, 9.5%. Really, we're supposed to be going the other way. So there's just a dynamic there that we need to do something to change this trajectory. And so that's one of our goals through this integration.
Yes. And, I know we've placed a lot of attention on Lowell and supporting the Lowell parents and staff. I know that Principal Nicholson is having a meeting upcoming, looking at maybe the 23rd or the 28th. I know we have the board work session and then our regular school board meeting. But we just wanted you to know that we're trying to support there as well. And we'll see if we can have other representatives attend.
Another piece of interesting information from this data here, free and reduced. Their current free and reduced is 84.2. Their average over the last 11 years was 84.3. So it really hasn't changed much at all. It's maintained pretty steadily over the last so many years. So I found that interesting. Go ahead. So just like we just showed, there's been quite a decrease in enrollment in that building. There's been quite an increase in non-white students at that building. And then the last piece of information there, it is a racially identifiable school, as I pointed out in the beginning of this, by MDE. That does pull in our ability to tap into achievement and integration money that supports many different things that we do for the school. And I'll show you the goals and how this fits, how this piece fits in those goals in a minute there.
And that plan, linked to those, to that plan has also been provided to families. Families and community members can find the A&I plan on our district website. But again, we've made sure that we provide that link and information to our families at Lowell already. Because it's something that I think many folks, unless they are paying attention or in a school that is receiving those funds, may not be familiar with what an achievement integration plan is, what it's meant to do, and actually how much money we actually receive for it, which is roughly $1.5 million that we receive in additional funding to increase opportunities for students at Myers-Wilkins, as well as provide other opportunities for students across the district. So Myers-Wilkins opens, is considered, Myers-Wilkins opens the door for us to receive the funds, the $1.5 million, but then the funds can be used district-wide. And so most of the dollars are being spent at Myers-Wilkins to help students there with their achievement and other goals that Director Sparks is going to go through now. But other schools are benefiting from those dollars, and we can share some of that information as well.
Yeah, go ahead. Within the Achievement and Integration Grant, and I know we've all heard about this. We listened to Coordinator Smith, the Office of Educational Equity. I've heard him so many times talk about it, but then when I really had to dig in and learn myself, And I found it very interesting. There are 5 goals related to us as a district, but there are 5 goals related just to Myers-Wilkins as a racially identifiable school. So there are 10 goals total in the A&I grant. These 5 here are specific to Myers-Wilkins. And like Assistant Superintendent Bonds just said, it does fund some pretty key roles over at Myers. We have reading interventionists funded through this grant. We have math interventionists. I'm not sure how many of each through the grant. Do you remember? I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe 1 each or 2 each.
At least 2, I think it's 2
I think it's 2, yeah. We have an SEL specialist funded over there. We funded at least 2, maybe 3 of the kindergarten instructional aides. Then we also do some support of Lowell. And then the red, the equitable enrollment option, that's the one I'm highlighting here. That's the one that says we have to decrease and gives a strategy for decreasing the protected class kids at Myers-Wilkins, which whatever we've been doing is not working. It's actually creating the opposite effect. So that's the one we have to address and what we're trying to do with this programming. And that's what, I should have taken this slide out. That's just what this slide says, is that we're not meeting the key indicators of progress there. Another big piece of information are all the housing projects within Lowell's boundaries. I went to the city, I asked for all existing and upcoming housing projects in the city, because I needed to know, like, we can see the ones being built, but like, what else is coming? Adele and I went through that very carefully. We mapped them. You want to go to the next one? So within Lowell's boundaries, there are 3, 2 of which that are open. I'm not sure of the occupancy, but that Eris right down here just opened. So acres on Arrowhead, 275 units. I'm not sure how many are rented out right now. Like I said, Eris, 200 units just opened. But the big one is this Incline Village right here. I was shocked when I actually went on their website and looked that all up, and I think everyone should go look on there. That's going to be 1,200 units. So that's a big deal. That's all Lowell. So we have to create space there, not just for the kids sitting in this school right now, but for these kids that are coming. They will be enrolled there. And right now, we have no seats. I don't know what we would do with them right now. So that's just a big piece of this puzzle.
Superintendent Magus?
My light was on unnecessarily.
Bye.
Go ahead. So a quick overview of the plan. You guys, whoever was there last night saw this. Really, we have the 2 schools. You can see that the Lowell Lion is there. The schools to the left, Lakewood, Homecroft, Lowell students, and Piedmont students, they will be going to the Spanish Immersion program at Lowell. We made sure to align the hubs so they made sense. We currently have a hub at Homecroft. Lakewood students can take advantage of that hub at Homecroft if they want to. A lot of them pick up and drop off. Piedmont hub already exists, so we're going to keep that at Piedmont, and the Piedmont students can take that hub. Lowell students can ride the transportation or pick up and drop off their students. On the right-hand side, we have the Myers-Wilkins plan, if you will. Stowe and Laura MacArthur students will go to Myers. They'll be able to take advantage of the Myers-Wilkins hub, which already exists. I'm sure a lot of them already take that hub. Myers students can ride Myers transportation. And then the Congdon hub, which already exists, and a lot of kids take advantage of that hub. So all the Congdon and Lester Park students will still have access for transportation through that hub going to Myers-Wilkins. And so we wanted to make sure that we still had hubs, we still had transportation options, and that they made sense and aligned. So
And to make it clear for the community, I know we've been in several meetings, but since this is our official meeting for the entire community, the hub system will not impact negatively our immersion program for Masabakong. So those students who are attending Masabakong at Lowell, they will not be negatively impacted by this change. They will still have access to hub systems and transportation as they currently do now to have access to that programming.
And transportation works that out every year. It just depends on who are the kids sitting in the seats, how do we best get them to school. So, and they said they would work that out for us for next school year. So overarchingly, 6 sections of Spanish immersion will move down to Lowell. We'll have the full scope of kindergarten through 5th grade. That creates 24 sections at Myers-Wilkins, meaning 24 classrooms. We already have 18 classrooms, English programming, I'll just say it that way. There will still be 18 classrooms. We're adding 6, that's 24 classrooms. And I just pointed out that the in-district transfers will be coming from Stowe, Lower Mac, Lester, Congdon, and then, of course, the Myers kids will go there. We are going to seek to adjust that equitable enrollment option in the A&I plan because we are not meeting that metrics and we're actually creating a worse situation there with what we've been doing. So before Coordinator Smith left to go on his leave, he gave us the contact, so we're going to contact them and try to change that in the plan. And then, of course, it was really important to align the hubs so that we still had families having access to both schools. This is what it's going to look like, kind of a rough overview, if you will. You can see that we still have the 18 sections at Myers-Wilkins. We are still going to have low class sizes at Myers-Wilkins. And you can see the kind of projected class sizes in the Spanish immersion programming, kindergarten through 5th grade there. It'll be about 140 students. I have gotten requests. Some students that are supposed to stay in the Lowell Spanish immersion they're asking, can they go to Myers-Wilkins? So this is just a rough draft of the enrollment we have now in projection. They may change a little bit. So as I said, it'll be 24 sections at Myers with an enrollment of about 462 kids. Do you want to go back one? So it'll be about 462 kids. Yeah. With both the English and the Spanish, yeah. Yep. Occupancy, capacity, or all the kids together. This is just what the specialist schedule looks like, which teachers and principals are very familiar looking at this. The general public probably isn't. It looks like a rainbow and a jumbled mess. But we all know what it means. Basically, right now, we have 0.8 specialist teachers at Myers because they teach 3 out of 4 days. This will create full-time specialist positions at Myers, which I think will be beneficial for their program. She's nodding her head. I think it's going to be great for their program. So that's a good thing. And 24 sections is a full schedule, and that's what we're creating over there. So Lowell, we're going to reduce the enrollment by about 140 kids, like I've already showed you. We will move from 29 sections down to 24 sections available for their school. So instead of having double specialists, instead of having to support them from other schools, we will now have 24 sections, just like I just showed you. That's a full-time music, full-time PE. So they'll have that same full-time schedule. So that's going to be, I mean, Eve, you guys can talk about how beneficial that might be for your programming, but it will eliminate all the double specials. Of course, we already talked about which schools will be transferring or maintaining at Lowell. And then, of course, the hub system, I showed you that already. This is the projected enrollment. You can see by grade. English is projected to have 10 sections. They're still going to have 10 sections there. Ms. Sabakong, I added in, this year we had 5 sections. We were never able to hire that last teacher, so we actually have 4 right now. We're hoping that next year we can actually hire that 5th teacher. So I put it in here. That's the plan. And then they'll maintain 9 sections of Spanish immersion. That'll put them at 24. That's a full-time schedule. So now the balance will be 24 at both schools with a balance of the enrollment.
During our staff meeting at Lowell, I think that there were some misunderstandings related to the staffing of Masabacon, and that maybe they weren't able to expand because we had denied staffing, but it was actually a challenge in being able to fill the position. And I just want to make sure that people understand, because we are fully supportive of immersion programming in both languages, and we're proud to be the first public school district in the United States that offered Ojibwe immersion, and one of the very few school districts that offers both Ojibwe immersion and Spanish immersion.
And so this is, again, just shows you an example of what it's going to look like. Of course, every spring, each school leadership team takes their specialist schedule and they assign it to grades and classrooms. So they'll do that again this year. This is just an example of how it'll be a full 24-section schedule. So next steps, really, some of this rests on the site leadership teams. Lowell met yesterday for the first time and had discussion about it. Myers meets next Tuesday for the first time after the announcement. And then they will continue to plan for space usage. They're going to have classrooms at Lowell. How do they now, where do they move the art room? How do they, adjust to having a few classrooms? And then, of course, at Myers, the logistics, the scheduling, lunch and recess, movement in the hallways, all those kind of things. Does it change some of their procedures? And so they'll actually take those pieces and work through it with the site leadership teams now. And then, of course, we'll provide support. I'll be supporting them. Anthony, whoever will have curriculum, whoever else needs to support in the process from the district will be doing that as we move through the spring. Of course, Human Resources has a big piece with the staffing. As you know, that's all contractual. There's a real ask on who's going, when are they going, when are we going to know? Really, that works through the process, as you all know, through HR and contractual obligations and with Duluth Federation of Teachers. And so we'll have to just be a little patient for that. And we are meeting with transportation, I think, next week to finalize like the hub discussion. So there'll be things happening this spring as we're planning for the move. I did add one more slide in here that you don't have in yours, because I had that in the parent one last night. If you were there, you saw this slide. We are going to have a Myers-Wilkins transition committee, if you will, where we will pay staff to be involved with the planning for basically more of the family and staff engagement and how we plan to have that welcoming and what can we do to make those families feel like they're part of the Myers-Wilkins community, and the students, and actually the Myers staff and all of the people involved. So some examples of what they might plan and are planning. And Dr. Tice, you might talk about the family immersion night. I think we're going to set a date for that soon at Myers. And then field trips, some parents asked about field trips for Lowell students to come to Myers. All school assembly, one parent suggested maybe something like that. Another parent, I love that they put in there, could all the Lowell kids get Myers t-shirts? Yes, they could. Just different things like that. Families, they want tour dates set up so that they can come down and see the building and all the great things going on down there. So we're going to set up tour dates. And really, we did a parent survey. Many of the parents were like, get us excited for this. Like, help us generate this excitement for our family, and we want to know more about Myers. So last night in that presentation, I added like the key zone pieces, the community schools, which you all know is huge, and how that supports the Myers-Wilkins community. So we added all that in last night because the families really were asking, like, can you tell us more about Myers-Wilkins? So I'm just making sure that they become well-informed and welcomed into their new school. And that this committee here will help plan. They're going to have way better ideas than the two of us will. So, and that's the end of this part of the presentation. Yeah.
We appreciate it. And as you know, we've received a number of different emails. Some of the emails I've received have come to me are, I mean, as you know, there are some that are critical, but I've also received a fair number of positive ones. And then I would also say throughout the day today, as I talk to various staff members and also parents and people in the public, there was a lot of positivity around the meeting that we held yesterday, that there was sentiment by some shared that, you know, that they were more fearful of the situation going in, but that we had helped with some of those fears and more positivity. And I'm not saying that everything's done and everybody feels great by any means, but I feel like things are moving in a positive direction in that regard. And I want to say thanks especially to Brenda and our two principals for all the leadership that they've shown in this. And Brenda, especially this presentation is extremely clear, and I think it presents a very sound rationale for why we're having to make this difficult decision. And also, Mr. Bonds, you've been clear about what our guidelines are and what we're following. Sometimes the right decision is not the easy decision, and I think that this is very much one of those times.
That's a good reminder.
Thank you. I will go Member Banks and then Member Lafleur-Kemp.
So I just wanted to say the very fact that an integrated school system, Myers-Wilkins, and what's going to be happening with the Spanish immersion there is definitely the right way to go, because our world, our global community is a diverse community with all kinds of people in it that are making our world what it is. And the fact that we're starting at this level is important. It's 2025, and I think this has potential to do some really great things within our district. So thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more, Member Banks, and I think it has done great things in the last 10 years. This program has been going on, you know, and we have this excitement as well as anxiety from families, but, you know, as you've laid out in so many different ways, this expansion is very exciting for many reasons, that it meets our district needs as well and meets the needs that we're being asked for from our families. So that's really exciting. Superintendent Magus kind of had a fun fact about their giveaway program, and I just like to remind folks that we are the only district north of the Twin Cities that has a Spanish immersion program besides Moorhead. And when we started this program, we have a teacher that was at the Moorhead Elementary School, which my daughter actually worked at, that came here and when we started this program. So that's really something, you know, I'm proud of that we've done. And I think we just really want to continue to highlight all the you know, work through the tough stuff, but also highlight the strengths of what we've been doing and what this new team of people are going to be doing. Thank you, thank you.
Member Derek Eater and then Member Lovold.
I just wanted to take a minute and apologize for my error. I should have made sure that we put you first, because this is the second night that you've been doing this work past 8 o'clock. So I just want to highlight the dedication and professionalism of all of you sitting in front of us to the kids in your school. So I want to apologize, and next time I'll make sure I'm better about the scheduling. So thank you all so much for being here again today.
I'll just piggyback because I just am just overwhelmed emotionally and just with the work and the commitment to this and the continued positivity. It's a lot of work. Every new initiative, no matter how positive it is, takes such man hours, and you've got families, and you've got a work day, and you've got, so many things on your plate that we just as a board have to give you lots of appreciation and respect and thanks. I know it's empty sometimes. We wish we could give more, but yeah, thank you. Whew.
Member Meixel?
Same. Thank you for all you've done. We recognize that the decision, requires heavy lifts by many people, but it's now, the turn is now turned to you and your staff. Along those lines, how can the board best support you as staff and our families during this transition?
At Lowell, I think it's been helpful, Anthony or Mr. Bonds came to Lowell on Friday and, offered himself to talk to teachers. Superintendent Magus was at Lowell yesterday, offered himself talking to teachers. Lots of people are coming to meet with our staff on Thursday, our NVSI in particular staff. And just listening and hearing what they have to say, and I think that's appreciative. And I think when the Lowell teachers, when they hear about a transition team, I think they will want a little piece of that as well. I shared this yesterday, but we have this, the Spanish immersion staff is very worldly. Not only are they from other countries, but they have a lot of experience in districts across Minnesota and across the United States. So they just bring with them a lot of different experiences and perspectives of what's worked and what hasn't in other immersion programs. And so I think they're just going to be a wealth of information, and we'll do a really good job transitioning and making our families that are leaving the Lowell community feel, or they'll help with that transition and feel accepted as part of a new community.
Today, I talked about the transition team with my staff for a little bit, and I had emails right away, yes, sign me up. I want to be a part of this. So I'm excited that they're feeling that piece too, they're ready to welcome in. There's still lots of questions because we haven't gone through those logistic pieces. So I think as those logistics come through, is hearing that and supporting those decisions that are made, continuing to listen to the families, our families as well, because I think there's some changes for some of our families. We have kiddos who are asking, do I have to learn Spanish now too? So, right? Oh man, we didn't come around that side. So, there's a lot of things. So I think that our Myers-Wilkins families don't necessarily know the questions that they have yet. So, just knowing that we need to support those families as well. We spent a lot of time here, which is absolutely what we needed to do. But knowing that our next piece is going to be, what do the Myers-Wilkins families need as well? I was just wondering if the coordinator had anything else that you wanted to add.
Well, it's been interesting. I'm not gonna deny this. I've been in this program for how many years? 8 years. I was teaching second grade. I don't remember how many years, but it was the second year when I started working. We have been through a lot of stuff, positive and negative, but at the end, I think we built a really successful program. And all the teachers, parents are very excited. They love us. They really support us in everything we need. So it's like a family. We have built a family with a Spanish immersion program. So whatever issue happens, parents are going to support us. And even right now, it's like a lot of questions. Are you guys okay? Are you fine with this movement? So it took a while for me. I'm not gonna, especially when you see the next day when this one was announced, I see the kids crying. So, I'm interventionist as well. So I have my first group, and they were crying. And for me, I was like ready to do everything I do for intervention. The kids, Señora Thais, we are very nervous and blah, blah, blah. They start again. So for me, it was very emotional when I see the kids feeling that way, but I change it. I kind of like give the positive, spin into it. And now I see a more positive energy with the kids and parents and staff. So we're feeling optimistic, and we feel like it's gonna be fine, and we feel again that we're gonna succeed. Just, we did it once, we're gonna do it again.
Thank you. Member Loeffler Kemp and then Member Banks.
Well, powerful, and I love the confidence that you have and all that you've done already. I think, we as board members do have to be careful what our role is with supporting you in terms of staff and things like that. But we certainly, with this presentation and the other ways we've been informed, can help give accurate information to the public who we're responsible for. And so, thank you again for all the work that's been, particularly this presentation. The last just little thing, the last one there is about the PTA, and I just want to let you know, I was on the phone today with Stacy DeRoche, who's the citywide PTSA president, and she is ready to help you support starting up a PTA. And there's certainly many of us that can help you as well, but she's the contact, and she's looking forward to working with you, so.
I really loved that dad last night that said, hey, as the future Myers-Wilkins PTA member, I thought that was great. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say to Principal Nicholson, I'm excited that you are a fluent Spanish speaker, and I think that's going to help in so many ways with the transition.
So, Member Sadowski.
Just really quick, because I know it's getting late too, I just wanted to say thank you for the thoughtfulness that you've put into all of the data. That was really helpful to me as a board member when just kind of understanding this decision, but also just kind of what you all shared about how you're supporting the parents, the students, and getting their input on what's going to be helpful, both at Lowell and Myers-Wilkins. I appreciate that very much, and I look forward to getting more updates on how we're supporting our families.
Thank you. And as we close out, I would be remiss not to say thank you also to the team. So I won't repeat everything that has been shared, but I truly want to say thank you for, especially Director Sparks, for taking the lead on diving deep into data and really dissecting things for us, and the principals and coordinator for your leadership and moving this forward. I think it's going to be, I'm excited about the program. I'm excited for Myers-Wilkins students and families. I'm excited for those who have not had the chance to take Spanish if they attended Myers-Wilkins because they didn't want to leave their neighborhood or didn't have the reliable transportation to go to Lowell to take advantage of the programming. Now they can stay in their own neighborhood, take advantage of the programming, and I do see it as a true expansion of opportunities for students and families in this community, and those who are across the district and surrounding community. If they want to come in, join our district and take advantage of our Spanish immersion opportunities. We have 2 schools. We will have seats open. So I encourage those who I unfortunately had to deny over the last couple of years the opportunity that we will have seats available next year. So this message is out for those in the community who would like to come to our school district and join us. So thank you again for everything you've done.
I just wanted to add something because
there was a piece where the secondary team back there was talking about what Spanish is going to look like in the high school level, and our immersion students are going to need a lot of those CTIS courses, and so I'm really excited that they're going to have multiple opportunities for that across the district. So I think that was awesome.
Chair Derek Eater, that concludes our COW meeting, your first COW meeting as chair.
Thank you, and really looking forward to the time with the board at our state conference on Thursday and Friday. And just a reminder to board members that we have chapters 3 and 4 of our book for our work session on a week from Thursday.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting back this low time. I didn't say that one word. Before you guys close